In Nam Chau City, Sisuyan Province, people were bustling with people. Suddenly a thunderclap of heaven and fire fell, hitting the roof of a high-rise building, attracting everyone's attention. In the thick smoke and dust, a shadow slowly appeared. This young man wearing Dai Wei's costume is Trong Tu Lang, our male lead. After more than 1,000 years of wandering, he finally returned to Earth. Since they were children, Trong Tu Lang and his younger sister Trong Tu Du lived together and relied on each other, until Trong Tu Lang's chance encounter 8 years ago with a strange old man. I see that Trong Tu Lang's amazing skills are a talent that only happens in 100 years. He has a treasure. I wonder if you are interested? Trong Tu Lang did not understand what this old man was saying, so he politely said no need and left. But the box in the old man's hand fell to the ground and opened. A stream of purple smoke transformed into a human shape surrounding Trong Tu Lang. That meeting completely changed the male lead's life. Trong Tu Lang opened the door to another world. After going through bloody battles, killing soldiers and monsters for 3,000 years, Trong Tu Lang finally became a wise man, but in return, he was nothing more than an empty nest in endless loneliness. Trong Tu Lang kept thinking about his relatives on Earth. He finally refined a magical weapon that opened the door to time and space. Trong Tu Lang finally breathed a sigh of relief. He was about to return to reunite with his sister. Trong Tu Lang slowly walked on the street. His strange outfit was especially eye-catching, attracting the attention of others. Passers-by whispered and even ostentatiously picked up their cameras to take pictures. Trong Tu Lang also felt shy, but there was no other way. The person in the car was so angry. Was he crazy, standing in the middle of the road, no longer needing his life or something? The person in the car had shiny hair. He rolled down the window, suddenly saw that this crazy guy looked a bit familiar. It turned out to be an old acquaintance of the male lead. He read Trong Tu Lang's full name fluently. Trong Tu Lang also suddenly remembered that this flower boy in front of him was Jiang Gun Thang. He was his high school classmate. Because looking at Trong Tu Lang was not pleasing to the eye, the two of them often confronted each other in high school. Jiang Gun Thang leaned on his $1,000 car. He turned to his girlfriend sitting in the car and spoke in a sarcastic tone. I'm not mistaken, I haven't seen him in a few years. Trong Tu Lang is dressed like that. Is he playing cosplay? The person in the car also took off his glasses and cautiously greeted Trong Tu Lang. He recognized this girl as Duong Du, his good neighbor and childhood sweetheart. If it weren't for that time travel incident, maybe the two of them would have cooked rice by now. Trong Tu Lang saw an acquaintance and his attitude was much better. He rushed over to ask Duong Du if he knew where his sister was now. Jiang Gun Thang stroked his chin and told Trong Tu Lang that he was asking the wrong person. Even though this area was under his family's management, he didn't know where Trong Tu Lang's sister was. Jiang Gun Thang reached into the car, pulled out a wad of money and gave it to Trong Tu Lang. He said that since taking over, Trong Tu Lang's brothers could not be found, and neither of them had received compensation money. Looking at Trong Tu Lang's distant appearance now, take this little bit of money. Jiang Gun Thang wanted to humiliate Trong Tu Lang, but he didn't launch it like a punch to a cotton bag. Trong Tu Lang looked at the stack of money. Looking at Duong Du, who had no intention of sitting in the car, Trong Tu Lang did not hesitate to take the stack of money just when he was short of money. Duong Du had been silent until now and asked 5 days later at the Jiang Truck Toy Hotel. Their class was holding a reunion. Was Trong Tu Lang coming? Trong Tu Lang did not take these words into his hands. He was still busy counting money and casually replied that he would leave when he had time. Jiang Gun Thang still hasn't promised. He told Trong Tu Lang that if he lacks money, his place still lacks a cleaning staff. Ask Trong Tu Lang if you want to come and tell him. He can consider it as helping an old classmate. Jiang Gun Thang laughed loudly, stepped on the accelerator and left. Trong Tu Lang did not take Jiang Gun Thang's humiliating words into his hands. After counting the money, Trong Tu Lang absorbed all the money into the ring worn on his index finger. Even if he could break the space barrier he was carrying, if he lost a little spiritual stone or elixir, that would be enough. Even the 4 demonic weapons and 6 sacred weapons would disappear. Trong Tu Lang gritted his teeth. he had to take the time to find them again. In a happy suburban town, the broker led Trong Tu Lang into a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom and living room apartment. She constantly boasted about good quality and cheap prices. Just come in, fully furnished, and sign a 1-year contract to get good treatment. Thinking about doing it, Trong Tu Lang drained the water and lay down to relax in the tub. Trong Tu Lang looked at the ring in his hand and thought, the spiritual energy on earth is too fragile, the recovery is too slow, or should I think of another way? Trong Tu Lang noticed the movement outside. Someone came. A drunk girl pushed the door open. She stumbled on the wall and groped inside, constantly muttering to herself that she could still drink more. Even though this girl was drunk, she still thought she had to take a shower, took off her clothes in one step, and opened the bathroom door. The girl woke up from the alcohol, blushed and screamed, one hand covering her body and the other hand turning off Trong Tu Lang's wallet, scolding the hooligan. Trong Tu Lang held his red cheek and patiently waited for the other girl to talk on the phone. The other girl was talking to the homeowner, Ms. Tian, who said she would later compensate for the room fee that the homeowner had already given the room to someone else. But it seemed that Ms. Tian didn't care to listen to what she had to say and hung up the phone directly. The girl's soul left her body. Because of some problems, she owed several months of rent. Unexpectedly, the landlord transferred the room to someone else. Trong Tu Lang sighed. There was no other way. He didn't plan with her anymore. He gave her one night to arrange her things to move. The thick-faced girl clasped her hands and asked Trong Tu Lang if he could tolerate her staying for a short period of time. Trong Tu Lang didn't need to think, so he refused. The room is now his. Why should he let her stay? The girl almost twisted, showing a pitiful and pleading face. She volunteered to be a nanny, making up for the room fee. Trong Tu Lang thought of a girl dressed in a full nanny outfit inviting him to drink tea, and his tears started flowing. Trong Tu Lang cleared his throat, coughed, and decided to accept this girl's stay. Tomorrow, he would wash clothes, cook, clean, and give everything to her. The maid was free, so why not use it? In the middle of the night, Trong Tu Lang was meditating quietly in his room to recover his strength, when suddenly he heard the girl's screams outside. The two men signaled to each other. Immediately the man wearing glasses held a stick to attack Trong Tu Lang, but he gently kicked him in the chest, causing the man wearing glasses to lose his glasses and 8 meters away, hitting the wall. When the first guy saw this, he got angry. He didn't expect that this guy also had some bravery. He pulled out a knife and stabbed at Trong Tu Lang. Trong Tu Lang easily used 2 fingers to restrain the knife, then used a little strength to throw the guy into the sky. Trong Tu Lang was so angry that he had to catch them. Only then did Trong Tu Lang notice the girl whose mouth was covered with tape, sobbing. Trong Tu Lang put the girl down on the chair and removed the tape. The girl told Trong Tu Lang not to chase her anymore. Those 2 were her father's men. Trong Tu Lang snorted and tidied up the rope he had just untied for the girl. Trong Tu Lang didn't bother. He was too lazy to ask. He just knew she was his nanny, his person, that was enough. When the girl heard such a domineering declaration of sovereignty, her face turned beet red. She was so embarrassed that she waved her arms and shouted, "Who is yours?" But because her hand was swinging too hard, it irritated the painful area and hit her shoulder. The girl trembled and cried out. Trong Tu Lang let out a breath. "It's been cramped for a few hours. Tell the girl to go rest. He'll buy medicine for her tomorrow morning. I wonder who's the nanny." Trong Tu Lang seemed to think of something. He realized that this was a good business opportunity. On the outskirts of Nanzhou City, Sichuan Province, the weather was bright and sunny. Trong Tu Lang searched for half a day for ingredients to practice the medicine but found nothing. Trong Tu Lang struggled and looked at the lake in front of him. At the bottom of this lake, there was also a bead of ice spirit grass that could be used. Trong Tu Lang heard the movement behind him and frowned and asked who it was. The person who came was an old Taoist monk holding a flag in one hand and a tool in the other. He muttered that according to his spiritual beliefs, he was probably in the lake. The old Taoist monk noticed Trong Tu Lang's presence and was a bit surprised. "Is there still someone here?" He stroked his beard and told Trong Tu Lang to quickly leave this place. Today he had to perform magic here. Trong Tu Lang made a provocative noise and asked him if he was acting in a swordplay movie. Was Trong Lao 7 die or die die? The old monk trembled in anger when he was bumped into, but this insolent boy dared to call him a beggar. The old man raised his neck, pointed at Trong Tu Lang and cursed the junior for nothing. Today he will let Trong Tu Lang open his eyes and witness the magic power of the Trong Lao Company Loon Dick sect. Trong Tu Lang couldn't even listen. He pretended to be scared. He was too scared. The great elder was casting a spell. The old man was shaking in anger. The rotten boy didn't know how high the sky was and how thick the earth was. He would use 2 moves to scare Trong Tu Lang away. Once he gets the ice spirit grass, he will use the memory wiping spell to make Trong Tu Lang forget about the ice spirit grass. The old Taoist leader stood next to the lake, concentrating his mind as if he was planning to do something important, but for a while there was no movement. Trong Tu Lang crossed his arms and pretended to be a ghost. The old man was as if he had been hit by vinegar. He was so embarrassed that he became angry. He told Trong Tu Lang what the hell he understood. The old Taoist leader happily laughed out loud. This fairy grass is indeed here. Trong Tu Lang still crossed his arms and did not react, continuing to watch the situation. The old Taoist also said he had some strength. He could actually call things out of the water. The old leader saw that something was wrong. He trembled and fell to the ground, backing away. What is this? Trong Tu Lang still calmly asked the old Taoist leader if he had forgotten the mantra that the spiritual roots of things cannot be destroyed. Are there all half-beasts in the middle of hiding? The old leader was sweating profusely. He realized he had touched something he should not have touched. A jade-green python emerged from the water. It was a half-beast that guarded the spiritual herbs in this lake. Seeing the python open its bloody mouth and rush to attack, the old Taoist leader was helpless and ran away with all his might. Trong Tu Lang remained calm. He still had the inner strength to call out dozens of chains to block the python's movement. Trong Tu Lang took back the chain. He told the python he only took the fairy grass, did not want to kill, told the python to go quickly. The python understood and dived back into the lake. The old Taoist was still in shock and hesitantly asked Trong Tu Lang if he had restrained that monster. A moment later, the python emerged from the water again, scaring the old Taoist leader. The python held fairy grass in its mouth and respectfully gave it to Trong Tu Lang. The old Taoist leader regretted that he couldn't turn sharpness into steel. He eagerly asked Trong Tu Lang why he gave the grass root to the python. Grass root is also a very good material for alchemy. Trong Tu Lang acted as if nothing happened. If that python did not have spiritual herbs, it would have exhausted its spiritual energy and died. The old leader stood still, not expecting there to be someone like Trong Tu Lang, wondering what kind of person he was. Trong Tu Lang turned around and didn't want to answer. He thought for a moment and then pointed to himself and said that I was the true wolf of the golden light of Canveen Mountain. The old Taoist leader's blood rushed to his brain. He was just a fake president just to see Trong Tu Lang's abilities. The old Taoist leader began to negotiate a price. His last name was translated as in. He was a very famous person. All the Taoist friends in all directions had to respect him a little bit. Seeing that Trong Tu Lang also had some wisdom, he suggested that he worship Lao as a monk. One branch of ice spirit grass can only produce 4 magical beauty pills. The biggest headache is that common ingredients like ice spirit grass are also very difficult to find. The nanny in the same room saw Trong Tu Lang holding some strange, fragrant pills and thought they were chocolate buckets. Trong Tu Lang said that this is a magic beauty pill that can restore the spiritual energy of cultivators. Ordinary people who drink it can not only cure injuries and illnesses, change their skin and live long lives. Trong Tu Lang went around the market and looked around. Right now his strength was weakening and he needed a large amount of medicine to recover. He first tried to sell the medicine pills and then considered buying more medicinal herbs. Then, while walking, Trong Tu Lang heard someone calling him. Trong Tu Lang rubbed his head. Although it was convenient to say that over the past few years, it would be a long story, but he came to the medicine market to sell some things. Uncle Trin Hoang took on the role of old boss Trong Tu Lang. cheerfully saying that he was familiar with the boss here, so he suggested going with Trong Tu Lang to avoid being tricked. Trin Hoang enthusiastically said that after finishing his work, he invited Trong Tu Lang to eat. They hadn't seen each other for a long time and had to raise a glass to talk. Trin Hoang led Trong Tu Lang around and introduced, the trading area here is divided into two parts. Many people on the right street sell common medicinal herbs. The highest price is about 100,000. Trong Tu Lang looked around and felt a strange spiritual energy. Without saying a word, he hurriedly followed, despite Trin Hoang's warning that he could not go there. But before he finished speaking, Trong Tu Lang ran away. Trin Hoang sighed in boredom. This time it was a big trouble. Trong Tu Lang ran for a while and then suddenly realized that the spiritual energy had disappeared. Suddenly the door of Bok Thao Thong Kim opened. Two tough guards came out and told them to stop. Trin Hoang clicked his tongue and said, "Fuck you." A security guard held a stick and pointed it at Trong Tu Lang's face, telling him that the janitor was not allowed to stop in front of the store and to leave quickly. Trong Tu Lang frowned and asked what the policeman meant. Trin Hoang advised Trong Tu Lang in a low voice that this place was not a place that normal people could come to. Last time, there was a rich businessman who insisted on breaking in, but in the end he was seriously injured, and his company was also bought by someone else overnight. Trong Tu Lang asked Trin Hoang, "What is the origin of this pine needle plant?" Trin Hoang seriously said, "I heard that this is the largest place for buying and selling transactions in the province." Trong Tu Lang seemed to see the light of hope. That's great. His good goods were still sad because they couldn't find a buyer. Trin Hoang turned to stone on the spot, confused. Did Trong Tu Lang actually hear any words? The two security guards burst into laughter. One of the security guards held a stick and pointed at Trong Tu Lang in shock. The whole person combined was only 200 yuan. He also wanted to come here to sell things, so he advised Trong Tu Lang that it would be better to sell junk. Trong Tu Lang snorted, cursing at the two eyeball guards for looking down on people. But this time, that trick of stroking the horse's butt no longer worked. A guard mercilessly took a stick and hit Trin Hoang's head with a stick, sucking up those lame pants. Then they moved forward again, intending to attack Trong Tu Lang, but he did not bother to dodge. Preparing to attack again, Trin Hoang, who had just been beaten, stood up to block the sticks of two guards. "Tell Trong Tu Lang to run quickly. You are here. You know a few people, so it's okay." As soon as he finished speaking, Trin Hoang was punched in the face by two fists and fell to the ground. Trong Tu Lang couldn't hold back his anger and was about to punch a guy in the face but was blocked by another guy. Trong Tu Lang was surprised. The big guard used his other hand to attack Trong Tu Lang, but he quickly dodged it. One hand grabbed the other hand of the guard, pulling his hand back to easily control him. The remaining guard, seeing that the situation was not good, held a strange gun and shot two ropes at Trong Tu Lang. Trong Tu Lang was surprised by their attack and could not react in time. The two guards gasped and trembled. They couldn't believe that Trong Tu Lang was so strong. The big guy among them quickly picked up the walkie-talkie to inform others that someone was causing trouble at the main door and needed backup. In less than a minute, another group of guards rushed forward, fully armed, and surrounded Trong Tu Lang. The security guard from earlier bitterly hid behind the people who had just arrived, telling him to go up and beat that guy to pieces. The guards simultaneously stepped forward to attack Trong Tu Lang, but before the sticks could touch his body, they were stopped by a shout. The person who came seemed to have quite a background, causing the aggressive guards to suddenly twitch their trunks and turn pale. Trong Tu Lang was invited by the old man into the Bok Kim Canal. On the way in, people respectfully greeted him. Trin Hoang whispered into Trong Tu Lang's hand and asked in a low voice which noble person he knew who had such a position. Trong Tu Lang was also confused, so he went in to see what the situation was like and then calculate. The white-haired old man politely invited Trong Tu Lang into a room, and Trong Tu Lang also followed. Inside, I saw a white-haired old man bowing respectfully to another old monk, saying that he had already invited someone. The old Taoist leader turned out to be an acquaintance, the old man with the translated name and that Trong Tu Lang had just met last time. Trin Hoang panicked and shouted at Trong Tu Lang, but he did not expect that he knew Dao Thich. It is said that he is an unmatched master in the fields of finding spirits, refining alchemy and examining period robes. A fact that countless rich people would rarely encounter once. Trong Tu Lang concluded, "It seems that the spiritual power that was sensed before was from this old man, but then again, his 3 cat scratching tricks are still considered a great character." Trong Tu Lang suddenly came up with a brilliant plan. This place is the largest trading street in the province. Moreover, this old man's status was especially noble, just at the time he was feeling sad because he had no place to do business. That means there were intentions towards him. If that's the case, then why not take advantage of it to the end? Trong Tu Lang grimaced and thought of a new trick. The director cleared his throat a few times. Before he could say anything, Trong Tu stepped forward. Without saying a word, he knelt down, hugged the old Taoist leader's feet, cried bitterly and called his master, saying that if someone hadn't taken action in time today, I would have died in the hands of those people. An unexpected scene like this made the old director gasp. What the hell was going on? The white-haired old man who had just led Trong Tu Lang in seemed to understand the problem, deducing for himself that Trong Tu Lang was an expert of the Elder Yi. Trong Tu Lang cried towards Dickon while using the sound transfer technique to threaten him. He knew that he wanted to use the opportunity to recruit disciples to have intentions with the ice spirit herb. So for now, just use this identity to help me cover up. I don't want to be too arrogant. Just in time he can also use this identity to help me. Trong Tu Lang guarantees that he will not suffer any loss. The old man was completely at peace. Trong Tu Lang filled the boat with water and told Dickon coquettishly, "A few days ago, didn't he pick a branch of ice spirit grass, and also use this branch of grass to refine it into a magical beauty pill, and then gave instructions to his disciples today? Bring it here to sell." After hearing this, Dickon gasped and sweat flowed. He did not expect that Trong Tu Lang could practice the legendary beauty pill. He was absolutely a master. The white-haired old man from earlier also wondered what this Mandarin was about. Dickon cleared his throat and coughed a few times, popped his mouth, and pretended to remember something. The old man mumbled a few times and said that there was such a thing. Trong Tu Lang opened the box and took out 2 magical beauty pills, saying that this was made by his master who spent a lot of effort. Not only can it cure diseases, but it can also prolong life. When the other 2 heard that, they were really surprised. Trong Tu Lang did not hesitate to take a pill and throw it straight into Trin Hoang's mouth. If you don't believe it, then give it to everyone. This decision is left to his disciple Trong Tu Lang. When it's done, let him know. Trong Tu Lang pointed to Trin Hoang and told him he didn't have a phone for the time being. If he wanted to inform, he should contact his brother. The white-haired old man agreed, quickly went to arrange the auction, and informed all the high officials and rich people of Sichuan province. After the door closed and there were only 2 people left, Dickon seriously asked who Trong Tu Lang was. At such a young age and with such cultivation level, Trong Tu Lang was the first person who made him unable to understand. Dickon suddenly asked if it was true. Trong Tu Lang said of course it was true, but there weren't enough ingredients at hand. Dickon patted his chest and pointed inside, telling Trong Tu Lang to come with him. He pressed his hand on the writing on the wall. Immediately a door opened. Inside was another space with many rare items and a research team. Dickon stroked his beard. More than 100 years ago, Bao Bao was one of the largest bull markets in the country. Strange objects can be found here, Trong Tu Lang also exclaimed in surprise. At night, on Fa Street, Uncle Trin Hoang played Trong Tu Lang's uncle. He didn't expect Trong Tu Lang, who he hadn't seen in a few years, would have so much money. Asked if he came back this time on purpose to attend a class reunion. Trong Tu Lang laughed out loud and answered too quickly, so let's just say it was like that. Trong Tu Lang asked Trin Hoang if there was any news related to his sister. Trin Hoang sighed. Something happened in his house before and he didn't pay attention. I only heard that Trong Tu Lang's younger sister was taken in by a rich businessman. He also asked someone to inquire, but there was no news. Trong Tu Lang was sad. Is that so? Trin Hoang comforted Trong Tu Lang to calm down. The two of them had not seen each other for several years. Tonight he invited Trong Tu Lang for a drink. If he was not drunk, he would not go home. Trong Tu Lang said it was easy. When he got back he asked for a little peace. He thought about what happened earlier. He chose a bunch of good things. Telling the old man not to forget to move to my house made him, even though he was heartbroken but still had to agree. He's probably still very bitter right now. Trin Hoang led Trong Tu Lang to a Chi-Chi restaurant. Don't think this restaurant is small, but its taste is the best in the whole city of Nam Chao. On the other side, the girl who was staying at Trong Tu Lang's house was holding a chicken leg to eat. After waiting in line for half a day, it was finally her turn to eat. Today, she must eat. The piece of meat was about to go into her mouth when suddenly Trong Tu Lang pushed it and shouted. The piece of chicken in the girl's hand also fell down. She was angry, waiting to avoid the piece of food. What a bastard. Turning around, she saw that the person coming was Trong Tu Lang. She suddenly retracted her feelings when she did that. Trong Tu Lang put his hands on his hips and probed and asked her, "Isn't it true that you don't even have money to rent a room? So why would you come here to spend money?" The nanny was still arguing and almost said it was okay to use all the money. Trin Hoang looked from one person to the other and asked Trong Tu Lang's girlfriend, "Since it's my girlfriend, then there's no need to be polite. Today I invite you, everyone will eat together." Trin Hoang approached Trong Tu Lang and asked him to introduce his sister-in-law. Trong Tu Lang didn't even bother to admit it, saying she wasn't my girlfriend. The girl's eyes lit up when she heard about the place she was invited to, and she used her puppy dog face again. Coming closer, Trong Tu Lang cooed and told her not to be angry anymore. Holding the menu and ordering a bunch of other dishes, the waiter couldn't even make it in time. Trin Hoang was sweating as he listened. The three of them were sitting down to eat when suddenly someone called Trong Tu Lang. Turning around, I saw Jiang Gun Thang and another pink-haired girl. When Trin Hoang saw someone he knew, he let out a sigh and didn't bother to continue talking. The pink-haired girl asked Jiang Gun Thang who these people were. Jiang Gun Thang looked down from above and disdainfully said that these were just old classmates from before. The other girl cooed and whispered to Jiang Gun Thang, telling her that she was hungry and didn't want to stand in line. Jiang Gun Thang also pampered the beauty, directly throwing a pile of money on Trong Tu Lang's table to ask her to give up her seat. Jiang Gun Thang thought Trong Tu Lang had little criticism, so he threw another pile of money on the table. Trin Hoang couldn't stand it any longer, pounded the table and told us not to change. Jiang Gun Thang provoked Trin Hoang. He knew that Trin Hoang still had problems with that matter. He had another 20,000, could that be considered compensation? What is Trong Tu Lang's direction towards Trin Hoang? Jiang Gun Thang continued, saying that the previous settlement was because Trin Hoang's parents prevented the settlement, not wanting to move house. But not wanting to move house is understandable, but it's not that angry to death, right? Trin Hoang couldn't hold back any longer and rushed forward to punch this four-legged beast, Jiang Gun Thang, but was held back by Jiang Gun Thang's bodyguard. The bodyguard was about to punch Trin Hoang in the face but was held back by Trong Tu Lang. He used his strength to hold the bodyguard's hand, making him scream in pain. Trong Tu Lang scraped his hand and the bodyguard fell to the ground, echoing 10 meters away. Jiang Gun Thang was angry. He aggressively pointed at Trong Tu Lang's face and said that he dared to touch my bodyguard, not knowing how high the sky and the earth were. Trong Tu Lang grabbed Jiang Gun Thang's protruding finger and bent it back, causing Jiang Gun Thang to withdraw his hand in pain. Trong Tu Lang threw them an unkind look and told them to go away immediately. The three people realized they could not fight Trong Tu Lang and had to leave. At Trong Tu Lang's residence, Nanny Nun was busy cleaning the house and sweeping the floor. Trong Tu Lang sat with his feet up on the chair leisurely drinking water and watching TV. He yawned. It had been many days. There was still no news of the auction. How could he buy medicinal herbs without money? Did he have to go into the deep mountains and valleys to find them himself? Suddenly the doorbell rang. Trin Hoang walked in, saw Trong Tu Lang still so leisurely, his eyes wanted to fall out. He almost went to a class reunion. Why haven't he prepared anything yet? Trong Tu Lang clapped his hands and suddenly remembered his class reunion. He almost forgot his grandmother. Trin Hoang turned to Ms. Nun Bao Mao, who was tired from her ears, and asked her if she wanted to go. This class reunion could bring her family along. The nanny woke up. At Jiang Truck 2 Hotel, Trong Tu Lang's 3 people sat at the same table. Ms. Nun couldn't stop eating, having already eaten nearly a dozen plates of meat. Trong Tu Lang propped his chin up and let out a hissing sound. It was a rice box. While chewing, Trin Hoang gave Trong Tu Lang a phone and said, "This is the phone that Master Lu specially prepared for Trong Tu Lang. I was in such a hurry that I forgot to give it. The phone number inside has already been saved. Convenient for future contact about the auction." Trin Hoang instructed Trong Tu Lang how to use the phone, showing him that this was both taking photos and filming videos. This is for listening to music, for calling, click here, and this is for recording, and there are 77 and 49 other things as well. Trong Tu Lang looks at what he understands and what he doesn't understand. In the 8 years since he left, the phone has changed a lot. At that moment, a noise rang out outside the door, attracting the attention of 3 people. The arrivals turned out to be Jiang Gun Thang and Wang Du. "Meeting everyone today, I am extremely happy, and at the same time thank my classmates for taking some time to come here and meet. I just found out that the venue for this reunion belongs to our Jiang family's property. Today, everyone can have fun as much as they want. I'll take care of all the expenses." Jiang Gun Thang just spoke after the people in the room applauded loudly. They emptied their glasses to celebrate. Trong Tu Lang's 3 people still sat still and not paying attention. The nanny frowned. Why did this meal suddenly no longer taste good? Trin Hoang chewed the meat and said not to think so much. It would be a loss if you didn't eat it. Other classmates had already invited her, and even asked the nanny to come and invite Jiang Gun Thang for another drink. That girl was so arrogant, she didn't even look at him. Why did she have to invite him? The classmate just looked down on him. Tell Trong Tu Lang's girlfriend why she doesn't have such upbringing. Jiang Gun Thang has the kindness to invite guests. If you don't thank her, then forget it. What are you asking for? Trong Tu Lang's face turned black. He stood up and said that he knew best what happened, and it wasn't anyone else's turn to teach. That classmate also didn't like it. He pointed at Trong Tu Lang and teased him, but he didn't care about anyone. In the past, Jiang Gun Thang was kind enough to give Trong Tu Lang money. Trong Tu Lang did not know whether it was good or bad to hurt Jiang Gun Thang. To this day, Mr. Yang's hand is still bandaged. Trong Tu Lang was angry and loudly told that classmate, "You henchman really knows how to make a storm." Jiang Gun Thang raised his bandaged arm, pretending to be generous, telling everyone to stay calm. "Thank you for caring about him, and stop being so rash. Otherwise Trong Tu Lang would go crazy and hit someone again." Other people were like adding fuel to the fire, determined not to forgive Trong Tu Lang, demanding justice for Jiang Gun Thang. A social corrupt like Trong Tu Lang cannot be ignored so easily. Other people also agreed, competing to force Trong Tu Lang to apologize. Trin Hoang angrily broke the wine bottle and raised it to threaten, but Trong Tu Lang raised his hand to stop him. He pulled the 2 of them and told them to go. There was no need to stay here because of something like this. Immediately, other people formed an inner circle, surrounding Trong Tu Lang's group. Trong Tu Lang snorted coldly, just relying on a group of people who didn't know the end of the story. Others took advantage of him and wanted to keep him. The other classmates who were looked down upon were bitter. They were determined to apologize like Trong Tu Lang today. Otherwise they wouldn't be able to leave here. Jiang Gun Thang crossed his arms and nodded to a classmate. That guy understood and stepped forward, suddenly holding Trong Tu Lang's hand, telling him not to escape. 3 other people simultaneously rushed up to attack Trong Tu Lang. He easily used one hand to block one man's fist, and with the other he gently pushed the man away. Trong Tu Lang yawned and looked at the remaining 2 guys. He easily grabbed the hand of one guy and threw that guy at the other guy. Both of them collided and fell down. The other guys were punched and kicked, but not a single strand of his hair was touched. When they saw other people being beaten to pieces, they were afraid and did not dare to rush forward. A fat guy told him to let him up. He shuffled step by step, then used a meat-suppressing move to jump towards Trong Tu Lang. Trong Tu Lang was holding up another guy. Looking at the great figure jumping towards him, the corner of his mouth twitched. That fat guy perfectly jumped down on Trong Tu Lang, causing Trin Hoang and So KY to stand outside in panic. Other classmates also competed to jump on the fat guy, trying to crush Trong Tu Lang below. But all of it was ineffective. Jiang Gun Thang saw a group of people like that being defeated by Trong Tu Lang. He was so bitter that he swore in his heart. At that moment, the police walked in and told everyone to stay quiet. The cowardly classmate immediately ran to hug the police. Add fish sauce and tell the story of Trong Tu Lang's crime of unreasonably touching his old classmate for no reason. The two policemen looked at that classmate crying and asked who was Trong Tu Lang. The two policemen did not listen to the explanation, only said that if they were truly innocent, they would naturally not be unfair to good people, so they should follow them first. The remaining classmates laughed heartily, standing to one side watching the play. The police put handcuffs in front of Trong Tu Lang. He was frustrated and wanted to rebel. Trin Hoang silently advised Trong Tu Lang not to get emotional first. He had already contacted Boss Willow. He would handle this matter for him. It should be almost here now. Just need to buy time. Trin Hoang held up his phone and said of course it was still there. Luckily it hadn't been deleted, just found somewhere to use it. Trong Tu Lang's eyes were as bright as car headlights. He held up the phone in Trin Hoang's hand and told them they had evidence to prove his innocence. The police and Jiang Gun Thang's group were also surprised. Trong Tu Lang raised his phone and looked like Shinichi. He declared that there is only one truth. The evidence is right in this phone. Invite everyone to see. Jiang Gun Thang was on a date with a woman who was surprised because the restaurant was so hot that there were no seats. After meeting them, Jiang Gun Thang was unreasonable and arrogant, trying to get them to give up their seats. Having been lectured by them in a battle, Jiang Gun Thang was filled with resentment and was afraid that his cheating would be exposed, so today he unjustly punished them and wanted to push them to death. Trong Tu Lang opened the phonebook interface and said that if they didn't believe him, he could now call the restaurant, believing that the restaurant's surveillance camera had recorded everything. After hearing the truth, other classmates were also shocked. Other classmates also began to whisper. The wind always followed. They immediately knew that there was nothing good about Jiang Gun Thang. There really was no good name for the man. Jiang Gun Thang became so angry that he shouted for the police to quickly arrest Trong Tu Lang. As soon as the words were finished, there was a voice outside the door. The person coming was the chief of police department. The two police officers who just saw the director coming had to respectfully greet him and ask why he came here. He angrily asked back, "Why did I have to tell you to?" Jiang Gun Thang saw someone coming and quickly came out to ask for help. Stepping past the locked person was not Trong Tu Lang but Jiang Gun Thang. He panicked and asked the director of the department why he arrested him, thinking that he had arrested the wrong person. Jiang Gun Thang began to threaten the police. He was a son of the Jiang group. They had met him before in the city and could say a few words, but he had not broken the law, so why did the police arrest him? The director of the Department of Justice sternly told him that he had just obtained a reliable amount of evidence that the Jiang T group was involved in bribery, illegal transactions, and improper trading. First, the department would freeze all assets. The man standing next to the director of the Department of Justice only took off his hat now. He is the boss. He thanked the Department of Justice. The chief of police nodded. The classmate from earlier saw that Trong Tu Lang knew such a big person and foamed at the mouth and lost consciousness. The other classmates also whispered loudly, not expecting Trong Tu Lang and Boss Lu to be friends, hoping that he would be generous and not hate them. Trong Tu Lang's three people followed Boss Lu out. Duangdu looked at their silhouettes, wondering if she had made the wrong choice. At the auction scene, Trong Tu Lang's three people peeked behind the curtains, each with their own thoughts. The auction begins. The nobles below are all looking forward to today's auction item. It is said that the ending is an extremely precious treasure. I don't know what it is. The chairperson was a pink-haired girl. She stood on the stage and shouted for the auction to officially begin. The chairman introduced that today all 4 groups of fine treasures will be auctioned. Old man Dickon immediately snatched the medicine bottle from Trong Tu Lang's hand and reproached him. This bottle is too devalued. After all, they are the penultimate treasure. This bottle must be used to match. Dickon took out a green jade box from his body. A good pill must be mixed with beautiful jade, so as not to lose its medicinal properties. The program staff came in to inform the two of them that the penultimate performance was coming, and asked them to prepare. Dickon and Trong Tu Lang took the jade box up to the display platform. Below they began to whisper, not knowing what Dickon had brought. Just that box of cold light and spirit jade was of great value. They began to guess again about Trong Tu Lang's identity. A silver-haired old man sitting below saw this and immediately asked Dickon if this was the legendary beauty pill. Dickon stroked his beard towards the old man to confirm that this was the beauty spell that he had obtained through countless hardships as a disciple. If you don't feel secure, you can use it directly after the auction. Dickon firmly affirms that if the effect is different from the rumor, he will be twice as good. The people below shouted that they absolutely trusted Dickon. The owner started to announce, the lowest starting price of the Nyan Dan is 500,000. The lowest single price starts from 100,000. The auction officially begins. Immediately below, everyone competes with each other. The price of the mask is increasing rapidly. Suddenly it has increased to 5,000. An old man was scratching his head, saying the price was up to 100 million. He turned to the old man and provocatively said that if he didn't take action, the treasure would belong to him. Old man Wei also did not give up. The amount was up to 1 billion at a time. Everyone in the audience was sweating profusely, but the price did not stop. The old man scratched his head again and said it was 1 billion too. The old puppet couldn't think of a price of 1 billion years even if he thought about it. Neither of them gave in to the other, raising the price higher and higher. In the end, old man Wei decided to set the price at 2 billion, making the old man unable to bid anymore, and just like that, the Nyan Dan belonged to Mr. The auctioneer helped old Wei onto the stage and approached the Nyan Dan. Wei Lao trembled as he took the Nyan Dan and put it in his mouth. So immediately he felt a rich flow of air spread throughout his body. He no longer needed to support his cane. He was as strong as a young man. He couldn't believe it. It was all true. The old man who had just argued with the old man's price also gasped. The old man was handsome and cheerful. His beauty was truly famous. 2 billion was so worthy. Dickon also breathed a sigh of relief when he heard that. Old man Dickon was startled by the people surrounding him. Trong Tu Lang was even more inhumane and told him to leave this place to him. I'll go first. After saying that, he used a light attack to jump away, leaving the old man Dickon to be forced to almost lose his life. Trong Tu Lang bought food to take home. He was in a very good mood. He walked and sang. He passed by a person wearing a strange hood and stopped to look. This person turned out to be a miserable dead corpse. Chuang Tu Lang used the magic trick. He realized that this person was injured by the soul-devouring sword. She ran as fast as she could, not daring to stop. Behind her was a group of tall, dark men chasing after her. The leader used the evil magic in his arms to activate the Lin Nok halberd and shoot towards the girl. The girl couldn't dodge in time, so she was hit in the back and fell face down on the ground. The crowd behind her had caught up with her. The person who was hit by Lin Nok Kitch was determined to be a disabled person. If he could, then run away and see. The junior was holding a hand and criticizing why the big brother was so harsh. Wouldn't it be good to arrest him and let the brothers play for a day? Another guy reminded me to still be careful. She wanted to borrow the power of the magic knife to quickly win, but the girl used the power from the bracelet to shoot a blow at the girl. The girl held her sword and slashed at the group of people, successfully defeating them. However, the girl was not lightly injured. She sat down on a tree stump to regain strength. The last bit of spiritual energy was completely absorbed by this magic knife. The person who came was the big brother from just now. He avoided the fatal blow of the demon sword and survived. Looking at the exhausted and unconscious girl in front of him, he smiled sinisterly. What his sect leader wanted was beyond the blue sky. The sword in her hand heated up, emitting red light. It began to manipulate the girl's psychology. At first, the girl tried to regain her composure. But the sword began to be infected with strange things. They destroyed the sect, killed the master, don't they want to retaliate? The girl was excited, her eyes were bloodshot, and she was determined to defend herself and force Duok Tong's blood debt to be paid in blood. Trong Tu Lang lifted up his shirt and was shocked to discover that this butterfly mark was the embroidery of his sister, Su Du. Trong Tu Lang thought of his sister and shed tears. Why is she here? Didn't Trin Hoang say he followed a certain master? Perhaps he also participated in this match. That soul-devouring sword is extremely dangerous for people with insufficient spiritual power. Even he himself is not completely sure about this evil weapon. Trong Tu Lang decided to immediately find Trong Tu Du. Otherwise it would be more or less bad. Trong Tu Lang showed the command token he picked up at the scene to Dickon and asked him if he had any clues. Dickon looked at the order and was startled. This was the order from Duok Tong. When Trong Tu Lang heard that, he also panicked, grabbed Dickon and shook him constantly, asking where that person from Duok Tong was. Dickon was shaken until his face felt nauseous. He sat down on the chair and vaguely told Duok Tong that in the eastern citadel of Dian Street at the foot of Mak Sun Mountain, there was a place of their own there. Trong Tu Lang heard this and made up his mind to find Tu Du's sister. At the Duok Tong division, Trong Tu Du madly rushed forward with the soul-devouring sword, crazily slashing the gate. The others realized they were being attacked, quickly gathered their numbers, and led troops to capture him. There were many strong people in the group, all tall and dark men, rushed up to capture Trong Tu Du. Tu Du's eyes were red, he swung his sword and stabbed straight at it. This sword pierced through the shrimp and stabbed straight at the vice-captain behind him. The vice-captain fell directly to the ground of Ascension. The others shouted, determined to avenge the vice-captain. Duok Tong began to attack. They called out vines from the ground to tightly chop Trong Tu Du into a cocoon. But who knows when Trong Tu Du escaped. Like a ghost, she sneaked behind that muscular guy and slashed him easily. Then, he quickly slashed the two guys who had just blinded him, causing them to go watch the chickens right on the spot. Trong Tu Du tore through the squad, skewering one guy after another. They couldn't run away, they could only absorb all of Trong Tu Du's attacks. The noise outside was so loud that it even attracted the attention of the medicine poet elder inside. He was researching a monkey capitalist. The elder pharmacist was still concentrating on his research. He faintly asked where the other captains were. The disciples timidly replied that they had all been defeated. The old medicine man wiped his hands and made a sound. He usually refused to practice. At Duok Tong, Tu Du defeated all the disciples blocking her way. But all her actions were recorded on a camera connected to the observation room. The medicine corps elder ordered the disciple to release the experimental body. The disciple listened to the command and operated the keyboard. Legend has it that the elder medicine poet lived for more than 100 years. It is said that the king read the story and was able to resurrect people through renovating corpses. Recently I heard that this elder has gone one step further, being able to fuse with spirit beasts. Today I was finally lucky enough to meet him. The disciple pulled the lever, and 3 muscular mantises were released. Trong Tu Du turned back again. A baboon rushed forward to attack. She easily dodged its attack. The monkey's hands sprouted sharp claws, swinging at Chuang Tu Du. Chuang Tu Du jumped up, his flexible body avoiding all of the monkey's attacks. Suddenly her legs were cramped, her center of gravity lost balance for a moment, accidentally hitting the sound waves emitted from the monkey's mouth. The pressure caused Chuang Tu Du to be thrown out and hit the wall. The monkey took advantage of the situation and jumped up to attack Chuang Tu Du. The medicine corpse looked at the scene where all his pets were defeated and panicked, asking to enlarge the weapon in Chuang Tu Du's hand. The disciple listened to the order. The medicine corpse looked at the sword and realized that it was the demon sword that the Duok Tong sect master was looking for. The medicinal corpse told his disciple to go out there with him and release the ancient insect king. The disciple followed orders. The two went down to a cellar, stood in front of a door locked with an iron lock, and asked the disciple to open the door and go in. The disciple was sweating. He remembered that this area was normally forbidden for disciples to approach at will. The door opened, a rotten smell emitted from inside. The disciple found the switch and flipped it to open the cellar door. Leaving his disciples alone, he said this was just an appetizer, there was real prey waiting for them above. The scorpion looked at Duok T for a while, then it crashed straight into the ceiling and rushed upward. Trong Tu Du was standing and suddenly saw the ground shaking and cracking. From underground, a giant scorpion broke the rock and emerged. Trong Tu Du avoided the scorpion's attack. Trong had time to breathe when he saw the pair of scorpions strike again. Trong Tu Du used his sword to block and was pushed back behind the ruler. The medicine corpse didn't know when it was behind Trong Tu Du. He used a stick to hit the floor, causing the floor to split in half. Trong Tu Du lost his support and fell directly down. She was hit again by the scorpion, causing her to lose her balance and fall freely into the hole. But it seemed that the old man crowed a bit early. From the lake a series of red ghosts rushed up. Those shadows growled and rushed to attack one person and one bug. Duok T tried to attack them, but his attacks were all penetrated and had no effect. Looking at my scorpion on the other side, it wasn't much better. One ghost crawled directly into the scorpion's body. The other ghosts sprayed a stream of purple gas to surround the scorpion. The medicine corpse was sweating. Could this be the power of the demon sword? He saw the scorpion's soul being torn apart by the ghosts, lying still in place, unable to move anymore. The medicine corpse ran around killing them. Attacking them was also ineffective. It seemed he had no choice but to use that move. The medicine corpse was pushed by the ghosts and made him run down his pants. He suddenly stopped, threw the stick towards the ghost that was about to touch him. He took out the gourd from his waist, opened it, and ordered the space gourd to retract. A stream of air emanated from the gourd, it began to suck everything in, and a few ghosts were sucked in. Duok T happily hummed, until now no one has been able to escape this trick of his. Trong Tu Lang was already standing in front of the main door of Duok Tong. He recognized the heavenly aura just now as the soul-devouring sword, without hesitation. Trong Tu Lang jumped onto the roof, a chaotic scene met his eyes. He realized that the person holding the soul-devouring sword was Trong Tu Du's long-lost sister. He realized that the situation was not good. Trong Tu Du was gradually being taken over by the soul-eating sword. He had to stop her. Trong Tu Du held the sword and rushed towards the medicine corpse to attack. But the sword was thrown away by a stone. Trong Tu Du lost his fulcrum and was sucked in by the gourd's flow. Trong Tu Lang desperately reached out to grab it. Before being sucked into the gourd, Trong Tu Du regained a bit of consciousness. Recognizing his brother, his family grabbed his arm, but it was too late. Trong Tu Lang simply swore, "Bastard." He looked at Duok T with murderous eyes and told him to quickly release the person from the gourd. The medicine corpse was beaten back. Looking at Trong Tu Lang's majestic tiger in front of him, he shouted, "Where did the little devil come from? He doesn't know how to be strong." Trong Tu Lang released a 3,000-year-old aura that made the medicine corpse afraid. He was sweating. This spiritual force was so strong, it was not good for anyone. Trong Tu Lang decisively broke the medicine corpse's gourd handle, causing Lai to scream in pain. From the medicine corpse's mouth, a jet of poisonous gas spewed out. Trong Tu Lang took a few steps back. Taking that opportunity, the medicine corpse held the gourd with his other hand and ran as fast as he could. He could not ascend to heaven here. As quick as lightning, Trong Tu Lang appeared in front of the medicine corpse, grabbed his other hand, and pulled it off directly. Duok T lying on one side laughed crazily, leaning against her body to open it. This space gourd cannot be opened by anyone forever. 2 hours later her flesh body will be transformed into nothingness. Trong Tu Lang angrily kicked Duok T's chest, asking him to tell him how to open it. But Duok T went to visit his grandparents on the spot. Trong Tu Lang frantically threw another blow at Duok T's body, crushing it. He grabbed the gourd with both hands. He couldn't believe that thanks to his 1,000-year cultivation base, he couldn't open this gourd. Trong Tu Lang used all his strength to break the gourd. He would use all his tricks to open it. The gourd gradually cracked and then exploded and disappeared. Trong Tu Lang was helpless. How could this be possible? At the longbow base, warning sounds rang out from up and down the building, constantly detecting a huge vibration of unknown spiritual energy, causing the research room to become chaotic. Captain Bok Long stepped outside and asked what was going on. The secretary next to him quickly reported that a huge fluctuation of unknown spiritual energy had been detected in the eastern citadel, and he had used a satellite to rotate the field. The image will appear probably about 10 seconds later. He ordered his secretary to immediately contact Duok Tong to find out the situation. He ordered others to immediately mobilize surrounding surveillance cameras to investigate suspicious people, and sent people to block off the scene. Bok Long ordered the technical department to coordinate with reporters to monitor the news, absolutely not disrupting the lives of ordinary people. The subordinates heard the order and immediately went to work. Bok Long said that when he discovered the suspect, he immediately reported it to him and left the research room. A researcher leaned into the ear of the senior sister next to him and asked quietly, "Why does the cultivating world always have to keep it a secret from ordinary people?" The senior sister flicked her stupid junior's head. There are many dangerous and insecure factors in the cultivation world. Publicizing it to the people will definitely cause chaos in the world. Stop thinking about sentimentality and focus on your work. The guy who asked was immediately disciplined and obediently returned to work. Bok Long asked the secretary of Duok Tong's side to respond. The secretary seriously reported that the Duok Tong side showed that they did not know anything about the matter. They sent someone to investigate. Min Long was in an astrology room, holding 2 spinning globes and concentrating on thinking. Bok Long walked from outside and asked Min Long what scene he saw in his dream this time. Did it pose a threat to their mission? Min Long is an old man with white hair and beard. He feels the pain of a lost soul falling into a realm of eternal nothingness. People who fall into the realm of nothingness fear that they will never be able to escape. Min Long seriously opened the scene of destruction. He said that the new devil Jiang Lam loves the world. Bok Long asked if the demon race would return to the world. Min Long said it was a human, a strange human being. Bok Long was stunned. Human? Suddenly, Bok Long's phone vibrated and it was his secretary calling. They had found the person responsible for the huge spiritual energy fluctuation. On Bok Long's screen, an image of Trong Tu Lang appeared. Min Long coughed and told Bok Long to lead Trong Tu Lang here. Bok Long is still hesitating. The other party's identity is unclear. Min Long interrupted. He said he had a hunch that this person was related to the prediction. Bok Long told his secretary that he would personally lead the team to start. The secretary pushed up her glasses and said she would immediately go prepare, and for protection purposes, she would contact the pseudo-elder. Bok Long was happy. It's been a long time since he had an opponent. Let him see what an unusual person he is. Absolutely don't disappoint him. In the public road area, helicopters were mobilized to monitor Trong Tu Lang. Hearing his subordinates announce that the target was below, Bok Long did not hesitate to open the plane's door, ordering his subordinates to lower it 10 minutes later and then dive directly. The subordinates flying the plane received orders, told the captain to be humble. One turned to the other and asked if Trong Tu Lang could last a few minutes under Bok Long's hands. That guy bet 2 minutes. How powerful could this nameless kid's cultivation be? Their captain Bok Long is a talent that is only found in thousands of miles. Bok Long flew in front of Chuang Tu Lang and told him to stop. Bok Long now ordered the dragon head card to introduce him as coming from the dragon tribe. Trong Tu Lang didn't bother to listen to Bok Long's words and went straight ahead. Bok Long saw that he was being ignored and was upset. He hadn't finished speaking yet. Bok Long gathered his strength and struck a blow towards Chuang Tu Lang. Chuang Tu Lang easily dodged it. He started to feel stuck. He didn't know what dragon was doing. He still had work to do. He couldn't help. Bok Long let out a loud hum. Bao Chuang Tu Lang had just started practicing Song off from the cave, and even the dragon bow did not know it. Trong Tu Lang heard Bok Long talk a lot, didn't care and turned around to continue walking. Bok Long was angry. It seemed that Chuang Tu Lang did not intend to obediently follow him. Bok Long concentrated his spiritual energy and summoned thousands of swords to attack Chuang Tu Lang. Zhang Ziling easily broke it with one hand. Trong Tu Lang grabbed Bok Long's neck, pinned him to the ground, and punched Bok Long with a powerful blow. Don't tease him. Bok Long was beaten until he vomited blood. Unable to move, the two plane pilots gasped. Their eyes were about to pop out. Thunder rumbled from the sky, summoning a white dragon to attack Trong Tu Lang. Trong Tu Lang ran to the main road. There was a truck coming. The person in the car was a cheerful young man. With a lollipop in his mouth, he laughed and exclaimed. It was true that the big forest had all kinds of birds, running on the road in the middle of the night. The young man clearly saw what was rushing towards him, panicked, clutched the steering wheel and shouted for his mother. He had encountered a fairy. Trong Tu Lang looked at the car in front of him and was startled. In the Longbo conference room, Nguyen Lao panicked when he received the news that Duok Tong Phan Da was completely destroyed by just one person. Even more terrifying than the person over there, isn't Elder Dick N's disciple. Why does he have such great ability? The secretary looked at Nguyen Lao and thought, where did this old man go for maintenance? He looked like he was 10 years younger than last year. We had to find an opportunity to ask questions. She announced that Bok Long had personally led the team to capture him. Nguyen Lao looked at Trong Tu Lang and sweated. He did not see that this person had such great ability. Although Duok Tong had times when his hands and feet were not clean, no matter how he said it, he was still a member of the Jia Min sect. I pray that Lao will order the mission to stop, prioritize protecting the safety of Bok Long's life, and leave the rest to Lao. May Lao take out his phone and call his subordinates to tell him to come to Bok Bao to clear the needle. At Bok Bao Thong Kim, Nguyen Lao was waiting there. Seeing Trong Tu Lang coming, his subordinates knocked on the door to inform Nguyen Lao. He got out of the car and stood in front of Trong Tu Lang, telling him to stop. This spiritual force was so terrifying that Nguyen Lao and his subordinates could not stand still, looking at the person who was boldly approaching. May Lao quickly explained that he is not an enemy, that he came to help you. Trong Tu Lang temporarily withdrew his pressure and asked him how he wanted to help. He had to rely on two subordinates to help him stand. When Trong Tu Lang heard the name Long Bo, he didn't have a good attitude. Just now, people from Long Bo had just attacked him. May Lao hastily explained, it's just a small touch. I guarantee that Trong Tu Lang will be able to find the answer if he comes with me. Trong Tu Lang agreed to temporarily trust him for once. He was invited to sit in the car and the car drove away. There was another car parked nearby. As soon as the door closed, the secretary panicked and ran to inform Duok Tong to come and claim someone. Nguyen Lao stood still. Did he get here so quickly? He said let him come and meet them. Inside the Duok KY room, he exhaled a cigarette. He listened sideways, put his feet on the table, and got straight to the point. He obeyed the sect master's orders to bring people back, and quickly hand them over. I pray that when I see Duok KY, I will also be cautious. This Duok KY guy is the 16th generation descendant of the Great Land. The person who comes does not have good intentions. I pray that I will try to be calm. He sat down on the chair and greeted politely. It's been a long time since I contacted your sect master. How is your sect master? Duok KY was not fooled by Nguyen Lao's words. He once or twice told Nguyen Lao's group to quickly hand over Trong Tu Lang. Today he must take people away. No one should stop him. Trong Tu Lang has killed the medicine corpse, the only great land of their sect master. How can he let it go so easily? Please be gentle and calm, young people, don't be so emotional, say something slowly. Duok KY couldn't listen. He looked down on Nguyen. Duok KY, don't wake up. Don't think that if you respect you guys a little on a normal day, you'll think we're afraid of you. Based on your current strength, do you still dare to call yourself the protector of the cultivator world? Duok Kai's face was stiff. His face did not have good intentions. Times have changed. Go to hell. I can't stand it anymore. I got angry and hit the chair, telling Duok KY not to let me be lazy. This place is not someone he can cause trouble with. Don't think that you guys are doing shameless collusion behind your back without them knowing. Sooner or later the storm will come. Duok KY smiled contemptuously. He did not take Lao Prei's words into his ears. If he remembered correctly, all of the great combat experts had already gone out to carry out their missions. Duok Ky gained momentum and struck a blow towards Nguyen Lao. Nguyen Lao closed his eyes tightly, thinking he was dead. But the attack Duok Ky just made was easily neutralized by Trong Tu Lang. He hit another attack towards Duok Ky, sending him flying 8 meters away. Vomiting blood, Nguyen Lao was surprised and did not expect that the person who saved him was Trong Tu Lang. Duok Ky struggled but still spoke strongly. Just when he wanted to find Trong Tu Lang, he offered it himself. At the Longbo Base Mission Reception Room, Long returned after completing an S-rank mission with the highest difficulty in just 1 day. He was at the reception desk waiting for confirmation of the task and heard the receptionists gossiping about him. Long had never failed. In the Dragon Bow living room, Trong Tu Lang and Duok Ky were facing each other, preparing to dive into the pool. As soon as Duok Ky was beaten, the older girl told Trong Tu Lang 2 choices. The first was to obediently accompany him back to Duok Tong. The second was to be beaten to death and then taken away. As soon as Duok Ky finished speaking, Mr. Long shot a bullet from behind. Duok Ky dodged and dodged, measuring the blood of Long's shadow, and Dragon's shadow shot out several more bronze candies. Duok Ky easily avoided everything. Duok Ky was so bored that he scorned Long, relying on the broken fish and shrimp to teach him, really thinking that they would be afraid of the dragon tribe. An Long saw that Duok Ky dared to disrespect his organization and angrily released extremely powerful red spiritual energy. Old Wei standing behind Chuang Tu Lang breathed a sigh of relief. This time he could rest assured. There was Long's image here. On the other side, Long's image held 2 guns in both hands and launched violent storms at Duok Ky. As of today, no prey has been able to escape his bullets alive. Duok Ky didn't even bother to avoid it. Duok Ky held the bullet in his hand and slowly shot it back at Long. The bronze candy tore through the wind and rushed directly through Long's image. Long's image immediately ascended to heaven. Old Wei was sweating profusely. He didn't expect Ying Long to be defeated so easily. Duok Ky had suddenly reached this level. Duok Ky held a few more copper candies in his hand, arrogantly facing Chuang Tu Lang and asked if he had finished thinking about it. Slowly removing Duok Kai's outstretched arm made Wei Lao and Duok Ky both freeze for a moment. Trong Tu Lang radiated pressure, with no good intentions towards Duok Ky. As expected, the banana slashing began. Wei Lao's eyes fell out. Chuang Tu Lang was moving so fast, he couldn't see his movements clearly. Duok Ky trembled and hugged his broken arm. Immediately, Duok Ky grew a new, intact arm from the broken place. He began to transform, his whole body turning black into one color. He is still arrogant and arrogant, making Chuang Tu Lang feel a pain he has never felt before. A pile of sharp thorns began to grow on Duok Kai's body. His nails and teeth also became visibly longer, and his original face disappeared, replaced by a demonic face. Duok Ky tightened his abdominal muscles and ripped his clothes. Chuang Tu Lang, on the other hand, was not afraid of anything, still standing with his arms crossed as if he was waiting for you to transform. Duok Ky used extremely fast speed to rush towards Chuang Tu Lang, ramming again and again, ramming through several walls. It was true that his strength increased significantly. Duok Ky persistently rammed Chuang Tu Lang, rammed the entire ceiling and rammed it all the way to the outside, causing Chuang Tu Lang to fly 8 meters away. Chuang Tu Lang remained silent and did not react. Duok Ky flashed in front of Chuang Tu Lang and tried to punch him but missed. From the 2 holes in his chest, he gathered force and shot out a blow called the Red Gathering Spirit Robe. Duok Ky confidently thought that Chuang Tu Lang was dead. Chuang Tu Lang did not bother to move, easily using his lightning shield to neutralize Duok Kai's attack. Duok Ky was also surprised and couldn't believe that Chuang Tu Lang could block his attack. Trong Tu Lang smirked. 2 fingers had to use a lightning strike to hit Duok Ky. Duok Ky was in pain. Duok Ky was beaten to death in one blow. His body was devastated but he still tried his best to crow loudly. Chuang Tu Lang summoned a bunch of chains to directly stab Duok Ky. Duok Ky was stabbed to pieces. Zhang Ziling seemed like he hadn't seen the battle that had just happened. He scratched his head and wondered how the medicinal herbs he had previously bought from the Willow Master and the old man named In. He had to quickly restore some of his strength. In the room, two old men, Min Long and Wen Lao, watched the outside movements through a camera. They had to admit that although the medicine sect was big, Chuang Tu Lang's strength was truly terrifying, and he was an enemy. Or you don't know yet. Wen Lao also thinks this is a noble idea. As long as Min Long's ass can capture Chuang Tu Lang's sister, he will obediently obey their orders. Why didn't Lao think of it? It was still Min Lao who thought deeply. Min Long became sinister, but opening the gourd space required some sacrifices. From the happy area, Chuang Tu Lang returned to inform So Ky that he had to go out for a while. He had to think of a way to save his sister, so he had to go out to find some things. During this time, he assigned a department to look after the house. When So Ky heard that, he was moved to tears. Finally, there was no need to endure any more hardship, he was liberated. Trong Tu Lang touched his pocket, took out a bracelet and gave it to Chu Ky. This was the cold light spirit jade refined into it. A lot of spiritual energy is stored inside, which can help protect the body a little when in an emergency. So Ky looked at the bracelet, thinking it was a rare purple medallion he took from Dick N's body, then quickly snatched it away, guaranteeing that he would always wear it. Without waiting for Chuang Tu Lang to say anything more, Chu Ky opened the door and kicked Chuang Tu Lang out of the house, telling him to have a safe journey and to contact him if anything happened. Trong Tu Lang fell face down on the ground. He stood up, brushed off his clothes and cursed silently, "Fuck you, wasting my kindness." At the warehouse on the outskirts of the city, Dickon happily led Chuang Tu Lang to look at the items. He opened the warehouse door. Inside were rare medicinal herbs nationwide, all of which he collected here. Chuang Tu Lang enthusiastically complimented him. As soon as he finished talking, Dickon pulled out the list to calculate the cost. Trong Tu Lang muttered that he was very calculating. He threw away the long piece of paper in his hand. That's it. Recovering his strength was more important. Not wanting to be disturbed while cultivating, Chuang Tu Lang created a barrier around the building and then began absorbing the medicinal herbs. Zhang Ziling concentrated his mind to absorb all the medicinal herbs. After a while, the spiritual energy of the medicinal herbs flew everywhere and finally absorbed them all. Zhang Ziling frowned. This medicine was enough to restore up to 5 points of attack power. But why did it only restore 3 points? Could it be that there is a problem with the Earth's spiritual source, if there is no spiritual source?
Otherwise, the amount of medicinal herbs could not be so low. Who exactly is talking? Downstairs in Trong Tu Lang's living area, the Duok Tong group was already waiting below. Duok He was bitter because he had been beaten to pieces last time, so he shouted to bring people down here. At that time, there was only So Ky alone in the room, eating cake and looking at the phone, when suddenly there was a loud banging on the door. So Ky thought Trong Tu Lang was coming home, so he opened the door and asked quickly, but he was already home. But the door that opened was not Trong Tu Lang but a strange red-haired young man. So Ky frowned and asked who that guy was looking for. He was known as the Little Prince of Duok Tong, the new generation of handsome Duok Joy. So Ky didn't bother to listen to the end and asked a dumb question, "Are you selling fake medicine?" Duok Joy stood still for a moment. He was frustrated, gritted his teeth, blue veins appeared. He said frankly that he had to come pick up So Ky. So Ky closed the door and told her not to make an appointment to meet someone. Duok Joy was angry and cursed that he was not an appointment to meet someone. Duok Joy no longer bothered to talk politely. He directly broke the door and rushed in. So Ky was shaking like a leaf, still trying to be colorful. She gesticulated and threatened Duok Joy not to come here. She knew no magic, one hit of this move would kill her. Duok Joy obviously didn't believe it. He laughed loudly, then he had to be taught. As soon as he finished speaking, So Ky's legs cramped and he fell to the ground, his arms and legs still waving wildly, telling the pharmaceutical world not to come here. Duok Joy was powerless and had to knock her out and take her away. Then once again, Duok Joy was blown out of the window and passed out on top of the car. Duok Ky looked speechless. everything would come to me. So KY looked at the bracelet that protected her and happily thought that Chuang Tulang also cared about her. Duok KY escaped and appeared behind So KY. Duok KY stepped forward to carry her away, but the ring released a cage of gas to attack Duok KY and easily solved it, just a few trivial tricks. Suddenly Trin Huang appeared from behind, holding a phone and fruit basket, asking Duok KY what he was doing. Trin Huang looked at the unconscious So KY and a man with only bones. The fruit in his hand also fell to the ground. Trin Huang quickly ran away. He picked up the phone and called Mr. Trong. When the phone was connected, Trin Huang panicked and said So KY was in danger, but before he could finish his words, Trin Huang was caught by Duok KY. Duok KY took Trin Huang's phone and secretly told Trong Tulang that if he wanted them to be safe, he should go to Duok Tong headquarters. Having said that, Duok KY, without waiting for a response from the other end, grabbed the phone and broke it. Trong Tulang looked at the disconnected phone and loudly called Lao Trong. At the Duok Tong Great Hall, Duok Van returned from his mission to pay his respects to the sect master. He felt ironic when he saw Duok KY's ruined body. Isn't this the #1 great genius of our Duok KY sect? Who beat you like this? It looks like a family dog in mourning. Although Duok KY was bitter, he couldn't refute anything. While Duok Van was talking aggressively, Sect Master Duok KY used pressure to cut off his hands and told him to shut up. Sect Master Duok warned Duok Van. He hates pointless fights between fellow sects the most. How many times do I have to say this? Duok Van was so scared that he didn't dare to say anything more. After a while, Sect Master Duok calmly blew a cup of hot tea and said to Duok Van, doing things to this extent is considered difficult for you. Duok Van sweated profusely and thanked Sect Master Duok Van for the reward. But Sect Master Duok is not such a good person. He said that Duok Van's mission had ended, and now he would give him something. Duok Sect Master released purple spiritual energy to cover Duok Van. He did not know what Duok Sect Master intended to do. The Duok Sect Master granted Duok Van to become the foundation of the Duok Tong's force. Soon Duok Van completely evaporated. Sect Master Duok KY turned to tell Duok KY to report his mission. Duok KY bowed his head and admitted his mistake. He could not bring back the murderer of Duok T, Trong Tulang, and he accepted the punishment. The pharmaceutical industry next door also spoke in favor of Duok KY. The old man said that Duok KY was the successor that Duok Tong worked hard to train, and if he did not complete his mission, he would be punished by being immersed in lead blood purgatory. Duok KY thanked heaven and earth that it was not a lie, so he quickly thanked Sect Master Duok KY for his reward and punishment. The medicine world also sweats. Purgatory with lead blood is said to be a cultivation method since ancient times. But because it is extremely difficult to grasp, it is used as a punishment by later generations. Ordinary cultivators who enter the blood lead will be directly dissolved into a part of the lead blood. Duok KY walked out, secretly resentful. Trong Tulang made him lose face in front of the sect master like that, he must make him pay. In the dungeon of Duok Tong, Duok Joy looked at the two people who were still indifferently dealing with each other and scratched their heads. How should they deal with these two people? Suddenly an idea flashed through his mind. He dangerously pulled out his knife with the intention of killing someone, but he had never killed anyone so he couldn't do it. Suddenly, Medicine World flashed another brilliant idea. Inside the long bow, Old Wei was leisurely enjoying tea when Trong Tulang kicked in the door. He boldly asked Ngui Lao where Duok Tong was, causing Ngui Lao to spit out the whole country. Ngui Lao rushed back to his mouth and said that the matter that the Dragon Department had arranged before was finished. Trong Tulang did not need to worry. Trong Tulang cracked his knuckles and said Duok Tong had captured his friend, and he had to handle this matter. Behind Duok Tong Mountain, Duok Joy carefully pulled the two people Chu KY and Trin Huang up the mountain. When they reached a place with a dangerous sign prohibiting entry, the medicine world stopped. He pulled back the leaves and pulled the two people to a large hole. Duok Joy clasped his hands in apology. The order was unbearable, so sorry. Having said that, Duok Joy threw both of them into the pit. Trin Huang suddenly woke up and panicked when he saw that he was falling freely. Not knowing what was going on, he fell straight into the hole, fell and fell until he fell into a puddle of mud, Luckily the mud was still alive. Tren Huang asked himself where he was. He saw a scorpion crawling and spat at it to chase it away. The scorpion was chased away and angrily went the other way. Just after sitting for a while to relieve fatigue, from somewhere another scorpion appeared, many times larger than the one just now. While running, Duok Joy suddenly crashed into a sack and fell backwards. The person holding the large sack in one hand was an old man with white hair and beard. Duok Joy saw the person in front of him and quickly greeted the vice sect leader, "Sorry for being rude just now." The deputy sect leader was dazed, unable to hear clearly what was being said. He strained his ear and asked if he was 10 years old. He also didn't remember how old he was. After the deputy sect master left, Duok Joy rubbed his head. The deputy sect master was simple and approachable. His personality was completely opposite to sect master Duok Qian. One face was red and the other black. Below the hole, Tren Huang ran as fast as he could, calling for help as he ran. It was also very funny, he was about to be pushed to the spot and was still sleeping. In his sleep he even cried out that he wanted to eat meat. Tren Huang is so helpless, stop eating, we're about to have a meal. At that moment, Duok Jia appeared and broke the scorpion's claw with one hand. Tren Huang was moved to tears and was saved. The scorpion still wanted to attack again, but when it met Duok Jia's eyes, it turned and ran away in confusion. The medicine man took the stone and threw the sack in his hand at the scorpion. Tren Huang was stunned, he didn't have to ask these things. Duok Jia thought Tren Huang wanted to eat scorpions, but told him that thing was inedible. Tren Huang fell into a state where he said chicken and she said duck. Before he could say anything, Duok Jia had already deduced seven or nine other things. Whether it was being a bandit or going home to his mother, it was so difficult that he could even think of it. After taking a sip, Tren Huang shouted loudly to thank the old man for saving his life. Duok Jia pointed at his hand and told him not to say it so loudly, he could hear it now. Duok Jia started sucking seriously, he asked straight to the point, asking Tren Huang, "Are you two friends of Trong Tu Lang, right?" Tren Huang suddenly asked Duok Jia if he knew Trong Tu Lang. Duok Jia said he didn't, they were considered enemies. The medicine man stroked his beard, he felt very interested in the Nyan Den uncle in Trong Tu Lang's hand. Tren Huang asked Duok Jia if he wanted to use them as pawns to exchange for Nyan Den so that Trong Tu Lang would sit back and be tied down. Duok Jia did not deny it, he asked the opposite, which is better as a barter than as food. A moment later, Duok Jia calmly sat and pounded the medicine as if nothing had happened. Tren Huang was still as tense as a string, on high alert. Suddenly there was a knock on the door, the pharmacist told Tren Huang to obediently wait here, it wasn't as safe outside as here, then went out. Duok Jia went outside and saw that the person coming was Duok Qi. Duok Jia asked him why he was here. The pharmacy gave the order of the blood purgatory, the pharmacy was also surprised, the pharmacy replied that because he did something unfavorable, he was ordered to be punished. The pharmacy patted the pharmacist's shoulder and asked if this was given by the sect master. Hearing this, Duok Jia was satisfied and led Duok Ky into a cave. Going deep inside, the two stopped in front of a gate full of human bones. Duok Qi dusted off the head of a skeleton. He had been in charge of the blood pool for 100 years. Duok Jia couldn't help it, he used a knife to cut the blood from his palm, his blood dripping onto the token. A stream of red air spread out and gathered into the skeletons. The skeletons all opened their mouths to absorb the air at the same time. Duok Ky looked cold as well. The gate of the 8 trigrams slowly opened, there were hundreds of thousands of resentful spirits, sealed by the ancestors of the Duok Tong using the method of Great Yin and Yang and blood purgatory. This is the formation of the blood pool of purgatory. The water in the lake gradually rose, gradually forming into thousands of people. Duok Jia was surprised, the blood pool turned into human form. The girl who had just been transformed from that blood pool approached Duok Qi, her hands caressing his skin. Duok Qi was gradually hypnotized, Duok Jia realized something was wrong. The dweller of resentment can already combine and transform, if he still absorbs the power of Duok Qi, he is afraid he will not be able to control it. But Hayat Trihong did not give up, it dodged the golden rays of light and then stretched out its hand to catch Duok Qi. Duok Jia shouted that it's not good, then shot a series of golden rays towards Hayat Trihone. But that bloody fox pulled Duok Ki into the lake. Duok Jia was panicked, it was crazy. Duok Ki's soul was bewitched by the blood pool of resentment spirit and could not be purely enhanced, it could only be devoured by the resentment spirit. Hundreds of thousands of resentful spirits almost lost control. In the forest behind Duok Tong's mountain, Tren Huang carried So Ky and ran away, not daring to turn back. So Ky stretched his arms and yawned, asking where they were. Tren Huang told them that they were in a monster's lair. They were guided back to the lair by the monster old man and had to run away quickly. So Ky was startled when he saw something behind Tren Huang. He was speechless. Tren Huang trembled. Elder Wei took out his phone and called to ask how Bok Long's condition was, had he recovered much. Receiving a response from the other end of the line, the white dragon puppet immediately went to the medicine tong to help Chu Tu Lang. Elder Wei hung up the phone with satisfaction. Chu Tu Lang and Duok Qian, they had better fight until the fisherman lived, then he could be a profitable fisherman and take back the treasure that Duok Tong hid. In the mountains outside the medicine sect's base, Zhang Zilang, with a new coat, was following the map. According to what was written here, through the bone forest, he could reach the mountain road leading to the medicine sect. Chuang Tu Lang accelerated and arrived at the destination. Chuang Tu Lang stood in a forest. Trong Tu Lang was the first person to penetrate the formation in the past 10 years. They received orders from Sect Master Chen, who was willing to rush through and kill. Trong Tu Lang yawned, he realized that the flood in front of him was just a puppet, he shouted loudly that he had something to do, so let's go back up. The puppets rushed forward all at once. Lang summoned a shining iron chain one by one. Zhang Zilang also didn't expect these puppets to be able to fuse. He had never seen this kind of 5-element magic. Could this be a left-handed magic? However, in front of this group, Lang was just like a 3-year-old child. He rubbed his neck. Being so tall, his neck was so stiff that he was tired. The 4-headed monster gritted its teeth and rushed towards Chuang Tu Lang. Chuang Tu Lang crossed his arms and performed a fire-splitting move, 5 thunders forming wind, black flame lightning radiating, summoning a series of chains covered in black fire to attack the 4-headed beast easily. Don't control it. Chuang Tu Lang looked at the struggling Lai and judged that he was not like an ordinary person, perhaps he was possessed by resentment. He coldly snorted in disdain. His uncle's skills were not very good. He only knew how to create random things. Chuang Tu Lang raised 2 fingers and recited a spell to cut off this group of liars. A blue flame appeared, slowly engulfing the tangle. They screamed in pain. Chu Tu Lang turned away and said no more. The fire behind continues to burn, this is your demon's true fire, the spell has been removed, quickly escape. After the fire ran out, 4 souls appeared from the pile. They clasped their hands to thank Lang and then slowly flew up to the sky. Trong Tu Lang put his hands in his pockets and continued leisurely. Duok sect was indeed like Ngu Lao said, using cultivation techniques. Over the past 100 years, I don't know how many innocent people have been harmed. If that's the case, then you have to let us know what a festival is. At the main hall of the Duok sect master, the Duok sect master was sitting quietly meditating when Lao's insect fluttered back. It whispered in his ear and whispered something that only he could understand. After hearing this, Sect Master Duok opened his closed eyes. He was surprised that Lang actually overcame the 5 elements lie and entered the Duok sect. Sect Master Duok rubbed his chin in contemplation. Chu Tu Lang killed Lao's younger brother, defeating Duok Ki, who was known as a genius warrior. Once again past the 5 elements puppet, it seems that this Lang's son is not the right type. Having said that, Sect Master Duok threw away the bracelet and called Vuong Hakni to leave quickly. Immediately, from the tiny hole of the bracelet, a black arm with black nails appeared, a guy with 2 strands of hair. Tall and dark, he crawled out from that circle. This guy with a dirty head had 4 arms and a beard, holding out his hand. The noble guy came down with all 4 hands clasped together to respectfully greet Sect Master Duok. Sect Master Duok ordered the black man, also known as Hakni Vuong, to immediately go to Qianyuan and bring back the heavenly beast as quickly as possible. Hakni Vuong heard his master's request and sweated profusely. What if the heavenly beast refuses to come? Sect Master Dwok held his chin. He told them that she would come before the meeting time. Hak Nivuong was still shaking, but her anger was impermanent. What should I do if she didn't come? Sect Master Metzen's blood boiled. He was angry, his face also turned black. He said that if she did not come, he would trample Vuong Hakni's balls to see if she would come. There are still female relatives outside, so we can't let our sorrows hang out like that. Hak Nivuong trembled and quickly grabbed his shirt, not daring to put it on, then quickly ran out. The medicine sect master gritted his teeth in frustration. This damn stuttering Hao Yuang was so slow in his work. If Medicine Knight can survive and return from the blood pool, that's good. Medicine Knight seems to be much easier to use than this stuttering guy. Sect Master Dwok once again thought of the fiery knight struggling in the blood pool. He let out a hum, looking at his creation. He was very happy eating it, and the 2 fruits he picked up slowly ate them. While slowly walking and eating, Dwok Joy suddenly saw something moving at extremely fast speed towards him. He widened his eyes and saw that they were 2 people, Trin Huang, being pulled down by a giant scorpion. The medicine world turned to stone on the spot, the apple in its mouth also fell out. Why are they here? There wasn't much time for him to hesitate. Medicine Joy only swore once. He threw all the apples he had just picked on the ground and ran away. Dwok Joy shouted towards Trin Huang, "Bastard, don't run to him." Trin Huang's tears flowed, equally annoyed. He shouted at Dwok Joy, "Who knows where to run?" Dwok Joy and Trin Huang were forced to lose their pants by the scorpion, and the cry for help echoed throughout the mountain. On Dwok Jia's side, after Dwok Ki was swallowed in blood lead, Dwok Jia rummaged through bags and bottles to find suitable items to save Dwok Ky. He threw away one bottle after another. This one wasn't there, that one wasn't there either. He searched all over, finally found what he was looking for, which was a small yellow gourd. Dwok Jia threw the gourd into the lead blood. The gourd immediately grew arms and legs, became animated, it tightened its stomach and tensed its muscles. Rarely opened the lid on its head and squirted out a red liquid. Dwok Ki was pulled out of the blood lead and had already lost consciousness. Dwok Jia called several times but to no avail. Dwok Jia quickly searched his body to find the soul recovery altar. He saw the burning pill that he had thrown aside, so he quickly went over to get it. As soon as Dwok Jia turned around and left, a pile of broken spirits immediately crawled into Dwok Ki's room. Dwok Jia's blue veins appeared, he began to change, he suddenly gritted his teeth, biting off both Dwok Jia's fingers that were put in his mouth. Dwok Jia quickly withdrew his hand, holding 2 bleeding fingers, he screamed in pain. Dwok Ki had long since noticed anything. A pile of boils had sprouted on his body, changing more and more hideously. Dwok Jia held the 2 fingers that had just been bitten off. Could it be that the rotten spirit insect had already entered Dwok Ki's body? Was the rotten spirit insect eating the resentful spirit? These things are used to suppress the spirits of resentment. On the other side, Chong Tu-Ling was still walking leisurely. He stopped at a lake, cupped his hands and scooped up water to drink. While drinking water, suddenly there was a movement in the grass opposite. The person coming was a tall, dark man. Wasn't this Black Nivuong? Black Nivuong saw the person in front of him, Trong Tu-Ling, and was afraid of the sun. He trembled like a leaf. Hak Nivuong was about to quietly run away when Trong Tu-Ling stood up, brushed his pants and told him to wait. Hak Nivuong was scared and turned back to ask Trong Tu-Ling what was going on. Trong Tu-Ling scratched his head and said he was a bit lost and asked Hak Nivuong Duok Tong, which way did he go? Hak Nivuong trembled and tried to say he wouldn't say anything, but he stammered for half a day before saying the word no. Trong Tu-Ling realized that he didn't know, so he wouldn't let him ask further. He turned away, waved goodbye, and decided to ask someone else. Black Nivuong breathed a sigh of relief, wiped the sweat from his face, and was able to trick him, but before he could relax for long, he saw Chong Tu-Ling telling him to stop. Black Nivuong was startled, crying without tears, and asked Chong Tu-Ling what he wanted to do. Chong Tu-Ling's outstretched arm froze in midair when he witnessed Black's reaction. Nivuong, it seems you scared him away. Chong Tu-Ling told Hak Nivuong's demonization process seems to be incomplete. It seems like he has some kind of ancient poison. He should still take out the ancient poison early to avoid damage to his body from the rotten worms. Black? Nivuong blankly said thank you to Chuang Tu-Lang. He couldn't believe that Chuang Tu-Lang saw that he was being blackmailed by the crowd. After speaking, Chuang Tu-Lang scratched his head and could only ask about familiar things in this place. Zhang Ziling blew a breath of black air into the leaf. Black? Nivuong also asked curiously. Chuang Tu-Lang crushed the leaf and told him to wait a bit and then he would know. Suddenly there was movement in the forest, something was rushing towards. Chuang Tu-Lang happily shouted, "It's here!" Black? Nivuong was startled and scared. Next was an extremely beautiful white deer. Nivuong was also surprised that Chuang Tu-Lang found a deer. Before leaving, remind Hawk. Although the ancient poison in King Yi's body can give him strength, he should not leave it in his body for a long time. It is better to leave it sooner rather than later. Nivuong looked at the deer and exclaimed, "It was so cute." Then he thanked Chuang Tu-Lang for reminding him. Chuang Tu-Lang rode away, saying that Hawk had stuttering. Nivuong is much better. Black? Nivuong realized that he seemed to be better. He looked at Chuang Tu-Lang's shadow and thought to himself, this person is really similar to 1,000 beasts. Duok Ki, after going crazy, turned into a horned demon. It easily broke the talisman that Duok Jia threw to control it. Several of these toys also tried to subdue it. Duok Ki screamed, his muscles became bigger and bigger, he tore off the magic talisman and stuffed it into his mouth to chew. He was so hungry, he was so hungry. Duok Ki's teeth gritted together, he needed strength, needed strength. Even if Duok Jia Lao has to risk his life, he still has to make the resentful spirit come out. Otherwise, let alone Duok Jia Tong, I'm afraid the whole country will suffer. Duok Jia stood up, he rummaged around for a while and then took out a red bundle. This was his last magic weapon. It was a white flower. The medicine man began to use martial arts, using powerful skills. He opened his mouth and swallowed the flower. Duok Jia knelt down and hugged his chest for a moment, then he opened his eyes wide and chanted, a billowing yellow aura enveloped him. Duok Jia was so tightly tied by the rope that he could not move. Lao's gourd saw that and quickly breathed fire to burn the rope to save his owner. Duok Ki's eyes were red and angry, he used his other hand to crush the gourd's head. At the same time, the medicinal site was also prepared. He was able to escape from Duok Ki's rope, and his chest swelled up like a balloon. Enough to see how much stuff old man had inhaled. Duok Jia exhaled a breath and shot a ray of light towards Duok Ki. After Duok Jia finished blowing with all his strength, he lost weight and fell face down on the ground, unconscious. Duok Ki's bones fell, and the red liquid followed. That liquid slowly crawled closer to Duok Jia. He opened his eyes wide and trembled. He no longer had the strength to run. The red liquid lifted Duok Jia high, gradually penetrating the old man's body, enveloping his body into a giant red cocoon. Chuang Tu-Lang jumped down from the deer's back, patted him, told him that this place was very dangerous, and told him and his companions to leave for a bit. The deer understood and licked Chuang Tu-Lang's hand coquettishly, then turned around and walked away. Chuang Tu-Lang called out purple spiritual energy, his aura blazing towards the Tong de Medicine sect. On the mountain behind, Duok Joy and Trin Huang ran out of breath, finally cutting off the scorpion's tail. The two of them leaned against the rocks and gasped for air. Trin Huang wondered, does that mean the giant scorpion won't be able to enter the forbidden area? Medicine World was sweating, he wasn't sure anymore. They were able to enter, it proved that there was no barrier set up. Trin Huang complained, then what is it called a forbidden area? Isn't it possible to enter at will? Duok Joy frowned in frustration, this sealed blood pool purgatory was a very dangerous place, ordinary earthlings did not dare to enter. Duok Joy suddenly remembered that Duok Ki had been sentenced to the blood pool of purgatory, and didn't know what was wrong with him now. Trin Huang carried So Ky up again. He suddenly saw a cave ahead. Medicine World reminds you, be careful, don't rush into the blood pool. Trin Huang didn't care, he headed into the cave. This was just a small cave, how could it be that blood pool? They weren't that unlucky, just go here to avoid that scorpion. First. Duok Joy felt scared and apprehensive, he kept seeing something wrong. Hak Nivuong sighed and thought as he walked, that Zhang Ziling was so hidden that it could not be revealed, even if it was a heavenly beast that attacked. I am afraid it would not be an opponent, but I still had to find her first. Vuong Haoni scratched the leaves to look for worms, and searched the fur for a while. That nest was round like a cocoon, leaving only one hole which was also round. Hak Nivuong stood below calling out to the tree, "Heavenly beast, heavenly beast." The nest still had no movement. Hak Nivuong rubbed his protruding head. Could it be that he was sleeping? Hak Nivuong opened his mouth and released a few purple worms. The worms flew around many times, forming a small vortex. Hak Nivuong stood up and the worms slowly brought him up near the nest of the heavenly beast. Hak Nivuong peered inside. The familiar red girl's figure was nowhere to be seen. Inside was just an empty nest with no one in sight. Hak Nivuong scratched his head. Where did she go? Suddenly a gust of wind blew the leaf downwards. The hidden celestial beast laughed heartily, while Hak Nivuong was not paying attention, jumping from above on Vuong Hak Ni. Making him startled, the insects also flew away and Hak Nivuong fell face down on the ground. Hak Nivuong looked at the celestial beast that was laughing cackling, lying on the ground and then howled. She teased him again, "You devil." The heavenly beast laughed until she shed tears. Now she stopped laughing and asked Hak Nivuong why he was here. The heavenly beast knew that the old tiger who had left the medicine king had no good intentions. Hak Nivuong used 4 hands to block the way of the heavenly beast, telling her that her opponent this time was very powerful and told her not to go. The celestial beast scratched his head. If she didn't go, how would Hak Nivuong report back, afraid he would be beaten again? Hak Nivuong stammered and continued to explain that Duok Vuong's opponent this time was extremely powerful. I was afraid he wouldn't have free time to pay attention to him. The celestial beast stood up, fluffing his clothes. It seemed like the old tiger had encountered big trouble this time. Hak Nivuong was sad and tremblingly said, "After all, there was nothing left of this body of his, so it was just a bad thing." The celestial beast grabbed Hak Nivuong's collar and shook him, scolding him for what stupid words he said. Once he died he would never see him again. The heavenly beast screamed, tears filled her eyes. Who said she would be friends for life? Could it be that King Haoni wanted to throw her away? Hak Nivuong looked at his friend with tears in his eyes, but he didn't say anything anymore, choosing to stay silent. The celestial beast turned away angrily and went to the headquarters. Hak Nivuong gritted his teeth and refused to move. The celestial beast angrily shouted at him to go quickly. On this side, Trong Tu Lang was alone, his aura moving straight in. He proudly walked up the steps in the middle of the main hall, when suddenly a dark aura approached him. Trong Tu Lang glanced and saw several skulls wearing cloaks baring their teeth and claws at him. These things were land spirits that should have been sleeping soundly in Huang Tuyen Tricok. Why did they run to the human world? An earth spirit raised his hand and wanted to attack Trong Tu Lang, but as soon as he touched him, he was blown away by the aura surrounding him and had to step back to hold his burned hand. These dirty objects originally could not hurt Trong Tu Lang, and did not even require activating the black flame, but if he were a normal person, he would have returned to see his ancestors long ago. Trong Tu Lang didn't care about the land spirits anymore. He continued walking until he came to a gate shaped like a gourd. This medicine sect is filled with evil sects everywhere, with human bodies cultivating demons, ancient poisonous beasts, 5-element puppets, yellow spring earth spirits and many other things. Trong Tu Lang placed his hand on the gourd gate and felt angry. Why did they use so many evil and poisonous spells? As soon as Trong Tu Lang touched the gate, the rope surrounding the gourd immediately turned into a snake with its fangs flashing in front of him. Trong Tu Lang used a little spiritual energy to form behind him a dragon many times larger than a snake. As soon as the snake opened its mouth to threaten, it became speechless and did not dare to cough anymore. Trong Tu Lang looked at the snake and smiled sinisterly. It seemed like he was awake. If he didn't let the black flame stop him, he wouldn't show his teeth anymore. Trong Tu Lang boldly opened the door. There was no one inside. We ran very fast, planning to use the houseless garden plan on you. Clearly there was an aura just now. Before our eyes it has disappeared. As soon as the words left his mouth, the chair automatically flipped up, opening a staircase leading down to the basement. Trong Tu Lang was also speechless. Is it really an organ hidden under the chair? Movies don't fool people. He suddenly remembered that he had seen this thing in a book in another magical world. It was a type of magic tool that was lit by the energy of resentful spirits. He didn't expect that Earth also had it. Trong Tu Lang summoned Hak Diem to surround his body, using so many herbs to inhale. He also recovered some of his strength, and was finally able to exert half of Hak Diem's power. Hak Diem Bao took over Trong Tu Lang's entire body to protect him. On the mountain behind Duok Tong, the three of them, Duok Joy, and So Ky, accidentally stumbled into the cave of the blood pool of purgatory. Surrounded by a blood pool, Trin Huang exclaimed in panic what kind of ghosts these were. Duok Joy's legs were burning red. He had told Trin Huang not to go in. Just now, the earthquake collapsed the cave door and I couldn't get out anymore. It was all because of Trin Huang's game breaker. So KY didn't know when he woke up and was standing there crying and screaming that he wanted to go home. Duok Joy clasped his hands in silence. He didn't want to die yet, he didn't have a girlfriend, he had never kissed, his virginity had not yet been opened, he didn't want to go to heaven. When Trin Huang heard that this guy was talking nonsense, he got frustrated and yelled at him to quickly think about how to run away. Why was he still standing there? Duok Joy stopped crying for a moment, his eyes met So Ky who was sobbing behind him. He shamelessly puckered his lips towards So Ky and told him to give him a kiss. He didn't want to die without losing his virginity. First lip. So Ky was startled and asked him what he wanted to do. She and Trin Huang joined forces to punch and kick Duok Joy, scolding him for being a shameless scoundrel. So Ky angrily put his hands on his hips and lectured Medicine Joy, even if he died, he wouldn't let him kiss him. Trin Huang looked around and was suddenly startled. So Ky also noticed and turned around to ask what was wrong. Trin Huang trembled and pointed to a corner of the wall, asking what it was. On that side was the cocoon that had previously contained Medicine Earth. The silent cocoon that had been silent for a while slowly cracked, causing So Ky to turn purple in fear. What the hell is this? It's still moving. Trin Huang tried to remove the hand that was holding So Ky. After a while, he was able to remove it, but he also took off So Ky's shirt, leaving her naked. So Ky was embarrassed and covered her bust. She was so embarrassed that she became angry and punched Trin Huang and flew into the sky. Duok Joy stood behind and had a bloody nose. These three cowardly young men could think of nothing else but hugging each other and calling for help. Several arms grabbed So Ky, they pulled her back. So Ky was scared and crying. She gradually sank into the red wave, thinking she would die here. Suddenly, several blades flew forward and slashed away the hands clinging to So Ky. So Ky howled in surprise, the other two people were equally surprised. The person who just struck was Qian Beast, she was filled with murderous aura, flying, her teeth and claws also grew much longer than just now. Jock Jia saw Qian Beast coming, as if he saw a light of hope, he quickly ran to hug Qian Beast's leg and cried bitterly for help. But Duok Joy refused to let go of his legs, still holding on to Qian Beast's legs, no matter how much she shouted, he refused to stand up. Trin Huang looked at Qian Beast's soul jumping with each beat and was startled and blushed. So Ky looked at Qian Beast's long fingernails and realized that the tips of her fingernails grew into blades. The blood lead down there still refused to calm down, it continued to cry out, spreading crimson red waves rolling towards them. Qian Beast looked at the spikes that were not submerged in the water of lead blood and had an idea. She stood in front of the three people, looking at the bright red lead blood rushing towards them. She used her spiritual energy to form a purple barrier to protect all four people. Qian Beast had a serious face and called out a pile of insects to use as a shield. So Ky was still panicking at the situation. No one in the medicine world cares about the situation. His eyes are still glued to So Ky's big white soul, the blood from his nose is still flowing and hasn't stopped. Trin Huang also tensed and clenched his teeth. Suddenly he noticed the movement above and quickly pointed it out for the others to see. Everyone looked up at the same time and saw a black shadow continuously releasing purple worms to buff the armor's strength. That shadow was black. Ni Voang. The lead blood water continuously attacks the armor, causing the armor to gradually disappear. Black? Nivuong had to use all his strength to rebuild it, which was extremely labor-intensive. Nivuong told Qianthu to quickly think of a way to go, he was about to be unable to hold on any longer. Chu Ky cried bitterly, not paying attention to the fact that he was leaning on the medicine world. He was gone, everything was about to be destroyed, he was about to die here. The medicine world was happy to be relied on by the beauty, who cares? I don't care about life or death in front of me. He quickly showed off in front of girls, extremely gallantly saying that he would protect So Ky, and if he wanted to die, he would die first. So Ky wiped her tears and told Wok Joy to shut up. The wave of blood pool became stronger and stronger, it broke the armor created by the King of Blood. The Qian Beast at the head of the wave was the first to attack. Qian Beast gritted his teeth and endured the pain and used the ultimate technique of thinking, penetrating mountain armor. This move created a hard scale on Qian Beast's back to withstand the liquid of the blood pool. Qian Beast gritted his teeth and endured, letting the liquid gradually erode his armor, tried to scream for King Hyatt Ni to quickly save people. King Hyatt Ni understood. He stopped creating armor and quickly rushed down to save two people, So Ky and Wok Joy. Tren Huang obeyed and quickly hugged Qian Beast's waist, his head pressed against that big and beautiful soul, his face turned red and called for help. Qian Beast took a breath to gain momentum and used her skill to think carefully. Immediately, wings sprouted from her back and flew up, avoiding that red blood thread. Tren Huang saw that it seemed like he had escaped danger. Only now did Tren Huang realize Qian Beast's form and praised her for her bravery and ability to transform into wings. After speaking, he suddenly realized that something was wrong. It seemed like Qianthu hadn't heard Tren Huang's nonsense all this time. She was panting non-stop and sweating profusely. Tren Huang worriedly asked Qianthu what was wrong. Hawk Nivuong, flying ahead, also turned his head in concern. Qian Beast used the idea twice in a row, his strength was exhausted, he was afraid he wouldn't be able to hold on much longer. Qian Beast tried to continue flying but it seemed she was exhausted, the bloodstream chased her faster and closer. She realized she couldn't fly anymore, so she turned around and threw Tren Huang strongly forward, telling Hawk Ni Vuong to quickly catch it. Tren Huang was caught by Vuong Hawk Ni, but Qian Beast tried his best to maintain his form, so she fell into the bloody pool of blood. Hawk Ni Vuong was scared and shouted for Qian Beast. Tren Huang was also stunned, tears streaming down his face. King Blood Pond slowly grasped the falling Qian Beast with his arms. The Blood Ni King used all his strength to swallow blood but still could not hold the Qian Beast. The blood pool easily broke the barrier of the Ni King's blood and then sucked the Qian Beast inside. Qian Beast knew his fate was about to end, so he used his last strength to look towards his close friend. Tears flowed down her eyes, her mouth moving happily to tell King Ni Vuong to quickly run away. Blood Ni Vuong was stunned, just looking at the blood-soaked blood pool surrounding his friend. Tren Huang was shocked, tears flowed like a stream. Hawk Ni Vuong pushed Tren Huang hard and told him to go quickly, then he walked back towards the blood pool. Tren Huang reached out to hold Ni Vuong's blood and told him to come out quickly. Did he want Qian Beast to sacrifice in vain? King Hyatt Ni thought of the Qian Beast's smile, he bowed his head to apologize, he had lost all hope of living. Hawk Ni Vuong did not want to live in a world without Qian Beast, he would rather die. Hawk Ni Vuong stood still and did not move, letting the blood pool slowly envelop him. Tren Huang was helpless and cursed the bastard several times, he couldn't do anything. Suddenly there was a blue flame rising from the sea of blood pool, that fire destroyed the blood pool surrounding Hawk Ni Vuong, slowly bringing him up. The center of that blue flame is none other than our male lead Trong Tu Lang, he is truly an important character, appearing in the next minute. Trong Tu Lang had one hand in his pocket, his expression coldly glancing at everything around him. Tren Huang saw Trong Tu Lang appear as if he saw the savior, his joy was indescribable. Trong Tu Lang raised his hand and led Hawk Ni Vuong through the blood pool to go out. Tren Huang picked up the unconscious Hawk Ni Vuong and quickly told Trong Tu Lang that there was still a person inside who had been swallowed by the blood pool, telling him to quickly save him. The heavenly beast had half of its body corroded by the blood pool, and was still dying, having difficulty breathing. Tren Huang shouted down to tell Trong Tu Lang that this girl was the one who saved them. Trong Tu Lang took the heavenly beast to assess her situation. This bloody water had caused half of her body to rot. She was afraid she wouldn't be able to live much longer. She had to treat it quickly. If not, keep more. The red-haired guy looked at himself for a bit. He exhaled triumphantly, feeling a light euphoria that slowly lifted him up. Trong Tu Lang still silently watched the situation. On the other side, Black Nivuong had just woken up. He looked at the red-haired man standing on the cocoon and exclaimed in surprise, "What a mess." Trin Huang worriedly asked Ha. "Does Nivuong know that name?" Nivuong trembled, his stuttering became more serious, and could not say the red-haired man's name. Trin Huang was so feverish that he shook Black Nivuong kept telling him to quickly say, "Who is it?" Black Nivuong's face turned pale. That person was Lord Duok Jia, to be exact, Duok Jia when he was young. The rejuvenated Duok Jia spread his legs and bent down to gain momentum and then madly rushed straight towards Trong Tu Lang. Trong Tu Lang still maintained the posture of holding the heavenly beast and began to activate Black Deep was stronger. The rejuvenated Duok Jia rushed forward. He tensed his abdominal muscles and tightened his ass muscles, reaching back and gathering a stream of red energy. Trong Tu Lang ordered the black flame to surround Duok Jia to easily break through that flow of black flame. Duok Jia rushed to attack, the two opposing flames clashed fiercely. Duok Jia was pleased, he smiled confidently, thinking the match was over. Trong Tu Lang had turned into ashes. Lao's face stopped moving, realizing when Trong Tu Lang had been standing behind him. Duok Jia glanced back. Trong Tu Lang looked up and down at Duok Jia, extremely arrogantly asked who Lao was. Duok Jia smiled happily. On the other side, after Black Nivuong pushed So Ky and Duok Joy out of the cave, but Duok Joy tried to pull So Ky away. So Ky struggled and told the pharmaceutical realm to quickly let her go. The pharmaceutical world holds So Ky and advises So Ky to quickly run away with him. Once the seal of the purgatory blood mark is lifted, a terrible disaster will occur. So Ky struggled to get out of Duok Joy's arms, suddenly turned around and told himself that he had to save them. The pharmaceutical industry quickly stood in front of So Ky to prevent her from leaving. Going back there would only mean killing herself. "Are you criticizing me for taking too long to inhale oxygen?" So Ky still continued not to listen. She insisted on telling Duok Joy to move away quickly and not to get in the way. The pharmacist explained that the guy with the black face and 4 arms was called Hawk Nivuong, female called Heavenly Beast. They are all the most powerful figures of the Duok Tong. If they cannot stop the water of lead blood, the two of them can only die. Duok Joy still persistently held So Ky's hand and advised him that if he left, he would just give someone his head. "Let's run quickly, running now can still save our lives." So Ky was angry, she tried to pull her hand away, insisting that she had to go back, calling Duok Joy if she wanted to run. He ran away alone. Duok Joy still refused to let go of So Ky's hand. Without her coming back there was nothing he could do. So Ky cried in frustration. Her friend Trin Huang was still there, she couldn't leave him behind. After saying that, she still steadfastly turned away. Duok Joy knew it couldn't do anything and wouldn't hold her anymore. So Ky was walking when she bumped into someone. That person asked her if she still had a friend named Trong Tu Lang, right? So Ky looked up in panic and asked how he knew. Who was he? Duok Joy looked at the person who came and was startled, his face turned pale, because the person who had just asked was the Duok Tong sect master Duok Jian. He smiled sinisterly and did not say much, but used magic to summon a snake that bared its fangs towards So Ky. The snake bared its fangs and rushed towards So Ky. So Ky was so scared that he couldn't move. He opened his eyes wide to look at the snake rushing towards him. So Ky worriedly caught Duok Joy falling down and told him to try harder. So Ky touched the wound on Duok Joy's back, lifted it up and saw that his hand was soaked in black blood. Duok sect master chuckled. In order to save So Ky, Medicine World was bitten by old man's nether spirit snake. His whole body's blood vessels weakened and he gradually lost his life, so his blood was black. So Ky was startled when she heard Tong Duok Tong's words. The Duok sect master replied that he was the Duok Tong sect master. So Ky shouted angrily, What sect master, sneaking up on others is still called a good man? Tong Master Dwok was indifferent, looking down from above, and told the two of them to follow Lao if they wanted to live. So KY had no other choice but to help the pharmaceutical realm slowly follow the pharmaceutical sect master. So KY whispered and asked the pharmaceutical world if that old man was the boss of the pharmaceutical world and why did he ignore his injury. Dwok Joy told Dwok sect master that So KY cared about him, so he wanted to marry him to threaten her. Dwok Joy frowned, not wanting to talk anymore. He told So KY not to worry about him anymore, and later seized the opportunity to run. Absolutely don't turn around, So KY can't stand it, she can't run away. If Sect Master Dwok doesn't save the pharmaceutical world, then what should she do? Dwok Joy smiled and looked at So KY with gentle eyes, asking, "Do you not care about me?" So KY blushed and defended, "Leaving him behind, what kind of person would I become?" After a while, the three of them stood in front of the blood pool cave. Dwok Joy's face turned purple as he looked at the blood water that was constantly pouring out. So KY was feverish, Trin Huang had not yet come out, and Dwok Tong was equally surprised. After he exited the secret passage, a powerful earthquake occurred. Repeatedly calling her feedback a torrent of blood, So KY fell down on her knees and cried, "If Trin Huang died, how would she tell Chuang Tu Lang?" So KY cried endlessly. The Dwok sect master stood behind him and gritted his teeth, wanting to prepare porridge to deal with Zhang Zi Lang. "I'm afraid he will also be submerged in the blood water and turn into nothingness. This blood water is the incarnation of an evil spirit, Endless." The person hanging upside down at the cave entrance turned out to be Trin Huang. Trin Huang was held upside down by the king of the cave. He rubbed his head and laughed out loud, apologizing for scaring So KY. So KY angrily grabbed Trin Huang's neck and tried to squeeze it. When he safely got out, Trin Huang sat down on the ground and breathed a sigh of relief. They were all saved by Trong Tu Lang. So KY was surprised, Trong Tu Lang is here, he saved two people, does he have such great ability? This So KY sister really looks down on the male lead. Trong Tu Lang's ability is much greater than that of the Dwok Tong group. Trin Huang told So KY if he doesn't believe it, he should ask the Black King. So KY turned around and asked the Black King if that was true. When King Hawk Ni was called out, he was startled and sweating. Sect Master Dwok Sect had blue veins all over his head and asked King Black Yi what had happened inside, and quickly told him honestly. King Hawk Ni trembled. Trong's stammering relapsed again. He stammered for a long time before saying one sentence. Trong Tu Lang saved him. Dwok KY came to the blood lead and Dwok Jia. Could it be that both of them were devoured by a spirit of resentment, leading to the blood lead seal opening? Sect Master Dwok smiled complacently. Even if Trong Tu Lang had great ability, he could not deal with a humanoid spirit of resentment. After all, he was just flesh and blood. How can he fight against the hundreds of thousands of resentment spirits of the main emperor? At this time, I am afraid that Trong Tu Lang has already been turned into blood by the resentment spirit. As soon as Sect Master Dwok finished speaking, there was a rumbling noise from inside the cave, and the cave door was destroyed by a force. The medicine ground was blown out with that force. Trong Tu Lang slowly walked out. Sect Master Dwok Tong saw this scene with his eyes O and mouth A, what the fuck? Trong Tu Lang extremely coolly carried the heavenly beast from inside. Trin Huang, Hawk Ni Vuong and So KY were all happy at the same time. Trong Tu Lang stepped out in the surprised eyes of many people. The celestial beast boy handed it back to Hawk Ni Vuong. The pharmacist stood far away looking at the beauty in his arms holding another man's uncle's shoulder and died a little inside. He forgot all about the pain and stood still for how long. So KY still maintained the posture of hugging Trong Tu Lang's neck from behind. She cried emotionally. Trong Tu Lang finally came to save her. Suddenly, So KY's eyes collided with the figure of the medicine land that had just been kicked and slowly rose. She trembled and called Trong Tu Lang. The Dwok sect master was frightened. Could it be that the medicine land wanted to unite hundreds of thousands of resentful spirits in one body? If so, no matter how powerful Trong Tu Lang was, he would not be able to defeat the Yellow Spring Lords that the Dwok sect collected. This 100 years. If the spirit of blood and resentment gathers into one force, let alone the medicine sect, I am afraid that the entire country will be destroyed. Trong Tu Ling looked at the monster in front of him and comforted So KY, "Don't be afraid, I'm here." The extremely cool Trong Tu Ling put his hands in his pockets and told everyone to go a little further and let him carry the load. "But let's attack now. If we wait for the medicine land to absorb all the power of the resentful spirits, even if they join forces, they won't be able to deal with it." Trong Tu Ling coldly glanced at Sect Master Dwok and said, "Who said he wanted to join forces with you? The debt you captured for my friends hasn't been calculated yet." Trong Tu Ling snorted coldly, "You Dwok sect people use the evil spirit that belonged to the Yellow Spring Seal in your area to be used as a ghost cultivator, now you know how scared you are." Sect Master Dwok was about to die in a hurry. He groaned and said that since when did he still do things based on his emotions? Sect Master Dwok secretly cursed in his heart, that family has no intelligence and structure, he can't do something stupid like him and miss the opportunity. The towel slowly grew larger and then covered the pharmacy, encircling the pharmacy in a large bell. The medicine land reached out and tried its best to escape. The medicine sect master quickly trapped the medicine land inside. Not allowing him to move anymore, Chien Con porridge slowly tore apart Dwok Jia's body. Sect Master Dwok thought it was a success, so he showed joy. Sect Master Dwok stepped back in panic. He couldn't believe that the porridge had been broken in just a moment. Yao Yao rushed towards Sect Master Dwok to attack. Sect Master Dwok was pushed back, he could not avoid it, sweat poured out like a shower. Right at the moment when everything was hanging by a thread, Trong Tu Ling's black flame-coated chains rushed out from behind to counter the attack from Dwok Jia. The huge, muscular medicinal field facing the much smaller Trong Tu Ling created a huge contrast. Trong Tu Ling also began to get angry, summoning more spiritual energy. He was slapped by his black flame and still remained so arrogant. It just happened that he needed a sandbag to test a bit of his recovery ability. Trong Tu Ling's black four-shaped formation is not an incarnation of black flame, which is different in nature from black flame. That was after Trong Tu Ling entered the other world and captured 4 baby animals at the bottom of a mysterious valley. That was after Trong Tu Ling practiced in the other world for 1,000 years. In other words, Trong Tu Ling was able to use this black sky four-shaped formation, proving that his skill had at least recovered to 5 points. Trong Tu Ling called out 4 beasts, and Dwok Jia also used the skill Mountain Crazy Spirit, calling out 4 ugly, big-bellied resentment spirits. Suddenly summoning 4 joyous beasts at the same time, this kind of magical power is only recorded in a few lines in the oldest sacrament of the medicine tong. Sect Master Dwok opened his eyes wide and looked at the scene of monsters punching each other, sweat pouring out more and more, but after all, those monsters are also things in the Yellow Spring, that kind of powerful power, can devour anyone. Objects have no life, they are the incarnation of death. Can Trong Tu Ling's group of beasts survive? Trong Tu Ling was unfortunately afraid, he smirked, he didn't expect that this small Dwok Tong would hide a power that surpassed his own ability. Those few evil spirits quickly repelled Trong Tu Ling's group of beasts. Dwok Jia smiled triumphantly, behind him was another evil spirit many times larger. That evil spirit rushed to the chaotic beast battlefield to attack Trong Tu Ling's 4 statues. The people who presented and So KY saw this and were also shocked. Trong Tu Ling's 4 symbols formation was about to be unstoppable. Unlike the other 2, Sect Master Dwok has seen the situation and now is a good opportunity. Dwok Jia was beaten so his face was deformed, the dent on his face smoked and then slowly healed. Dwok Jia is crazy, he is angry, he told Trong Tu Ling that it's time to die. Dwok Jia jumped up, also intending to punch Trong Tu Ling in the face. He raised his hand to block Dwok Jia's continuous punches. At the same time, several resentful spirits also defeated Trong Tu Ling's 4 beasts. So KY shouted worriedly, Trong Tu Ling formed a barrier to protect himself from Dwok Du's continuous punches and kicks. His punching hands were frozen, unable to move. When he realized, he was trapped by Trong Tu Ling's white leaves. Dwok Jia screamed with blood boiling, Trong Tu Ling leisurely stood with his arms crossed. There was no way he could be locked up, but this guy had divided parts of his resentful spirits to oppose his black sky and 4 statue formations, so he could be locked up so easily. Sect Master Dwok's eyes widened in admiration. Trong Tu Ling heard a voice calling him and frowned, Then suddenly the voice calling him next to him became louder. Trong Tu Lang was startled awake. He looked around and saw his lovely sister sitting next to him. Trong Tu Du smiled and told Trong Tu Lang it was time to get off the plane. Everyone else has already left, they should quickly get off the plane. Trong Tu Lang was still a bit confused. He stood there for 5 seconds to regain his composure. Trong Tu Du playfully stood up and ran ahead, raising his hand to tell Trong Tu Lang to come here quickly. Trong Tu Lang also gently reached out his hand, telling his sister to wait for him. The two hands were about to touch each other when suddenly Trong Tu Du was swept away by some source of power. Turning around, Trong Tu Lang realized he was in a strange place, surrounded by tall structures, mountains with lava, extremely dark. Trong Tu Lang found himself standing on the edge of a cliff, below was blood flowing wildly. Suddenly Trong Tu Lang heard his sister's pitiful cry for help. He frantically ran to the source of the sound. Trong Tu Lang had difficulty rowing up the towering rocky mountain. Trong Tu Lang did not hesitate to hesitate, he quickly ran towards his sister, but before Trong Tu Lang could reach, Trong Tu Du was picked up by two monsters and thrown into the rolling water of blood. Trong Tu Lang couldn't believe his eyes, he shouted desperately, "No!" Outside, So KY was crying but suddenly worried. Other people couldn't believe their eyes and ears. It was in serious danger. So KY lay down on Tong Tuok Duok's shirt and shook it, begging him to quickly save Trong Tu Lang. Tren Huang also terrorized the spirit of Duok sect leader. If they don't save Trong Tu Lang, until that monster comes out, they will all have to sell salt. The medicinal land slowly tore off the shield Trong Tu Lang used to surround him. The medicine sect master was also about to go crazy. Trong Tu Lang's breathing became weaker and weaker, his remaining magic could not surround the monster. So KY continued to persuade, she asked him if he was not the patriarch of this place, was there no solution? The medicine sect master who had been quiet all this time was now angry. What do you think that thing is? That's the clone of the head of the royal stream. So KY was stunned, the head of the royal stream? Tong Master Duok continued to explain that he is the person who is often called the king of the underworld, and some people call him the king of the earth. So KY looked towards the barrier that was slowly being broken. Isn't that a god? Sect Master Duok also had to admit that when Duok Ji absorbs all the power of the evil spirit of the monster's blood pool, it will become a clone of the god. Earth Treasure King Medicine Earth gritted his teeth, slowly tore the barrier, then broke through the barrier and escaped. Now he was the god of death. Sect Master Duok also helplessly complained, his ancestors should not have probed the power of the king of the underworld, because that would only drag them into the abyss of hell. Trong Tu Lang was unconscious, he gradually sank, gradually sinking into the bloody water. In Trong Tu Lang's subconscious, he held a sword and completely crushed a buffalo head and horse face that had just thrown his sister into the bloody water. Another buffalo head with a horse face rushed forward to attack, but was slashed to death by Trong Tu Lang. Trong Tu Lang held the huge axe in one hand. He pulled the axe back, collapsed to the ground, muttering the name of Tu Du's sister. Outside, the Earth Treasure King had escaped and was constantly changing. A huge flower grew from his chest, sending out thorns to attack So KY and Tren Huang. However, Ni Vuong blocked their blow. Tren Huang cried out in tears and told Hawk in despair. Ni Vuong don't do anything stupid. Black? When Tren Huang and So KY saw the savior coming, they were overjoyed. Deacon took a stance and prepared to shoot another arrow. Inside the observation room, when Lao held his hand and cheered, one more person of this monster would have to die. The arrow Deacon shot was easily caught by the Earth Treasure King with one hand, but that arrow immediately burst out into many rays of light aimed directly at the Earth Treasure King's face and rushed towards him. He was furious, clenched his teeth, and endured an explosive arrow attack. Deacon's arrow tore through the wind and rushed towards the Earth Hidden King who was covering his face. Seeing that the arrow was about to hit the target, the Earth Hidden King easily grabbed it with one hand and crushed it directly. Deacon was surprised. Lao was stunned. On the speaker, Win kept asking if they had shot that monster yet. The Earth Treasure King's wound slowly healed, and his doomed face once again appeared. The Earth Treasure King called out another yellow guy. Vuong Hao Ni held the heavenly beast in his heart and apologized. Every time he looked for her, nothing good happened. This time, he even made her have to pay for her life. Hawk Nivoong opened his eyes wide as he saw the Earth King approaching him. The flower opened its mouth full of thorns, waiting to swallow him. Hawk Nivoong did not bother to resist the old man anymore. In the end he still turned towards the heavenly beast and let the flower swallow him. When Trin Huang and So Ky saw this scene, they fell into despair. Deacon told him to come back to tell Trong Tu Ling that the great elder of Longbo had determined the location of the space gourd. Trong Tu Ling wondered, what is a space gourd? Deacon said it was the gourd that locked up his sister Trong Tu Du. Trong Tu Ling held his head. His sister had died in the lava of hell, where else could she be? Deacon seriously explained that it was an illusion created by Wan Ling Huang Tuyan. It wants to surround and kill Trong Tu Ling's will. In this chaotic space, Trong Tu Ling's younger sister is actually still alive. Having said that, Deacon slowly disappeared. He turned into smoke. Trong Tu Ling once again stood alone in an endless space. He clenched his fist so tightly that blue veins appeared on his right hand. Hawk Tian slowly burned. Thunder suddenly came and broke all the hands that were covering Trong Tu Ling. He slowly rose and rushed straight into the sky. Outside, after Trong Tu Ling's body was surrounded by blood and water, there was suddenly a commotion. The Earth King realized something strange and turned back. Trong Tu Ling broke through the blood water and came out. The Earth Treasure King opened his mouth wide. Water flowed out into the stream. He rushed towards Trong Tu Ling like a madman. Trong Tu Ling in the dark group had a new outfit. His hair also turned white, exactly like the later version of Ken Kaneki who was executed. Trong Tu Ling used the ultimate Black Emperor move, raging flames, to attack the Earth Hidden King. The black fire enveloped the Earth Treasure King and burned him inside. The Earth Treasure King screamed in pain. What is this? The Earth King looked at the black fire slowly burning him. He was not willing. It couldn't be like that. He was a god of the underworld. It was impossible that he would die. It was impossible. Trong Tu Ling watched the Earth Treasure King gradually burn into ash. He still leisurely watched with his hands in his pockets. The Earth Treasure King was burned until only his head remained. He could not believe that he was killed by a mortal in the blink of an eye. Trong Tu Ling slowly walked through the ashes of the Earth Treasure King. He asked him who he was. Trong Tu Ling replied that he was just a person who had just recovered his strength.